thanks for that Prime Gaming sub. We see you. Teams began their journey here last week, and now we have made our way down to 2. The Camelot Kings and the Tartarus Titans are now heading head-to-head in our final best of 5. But before we get to that, I would like to give a big shout out to Prime Gaming for being the title sponsor of the SPL this year. And you just saw there the new games that you can get with Prime this month. But make sure that you're getting the most out of your membership with all the other exclusive Prime content that you can get. If you're not a Primer, you should become one, because when you become a Primer, you get not only Twitch Prime subs for free games and game content, but you also get free Amazon delivery on top of that. And I want to one day shipping this game straight into my eyeballs, Ro.
Okay.
Camelot Kings versus the Tartarus Titans. This is the three-peat, the third time these two teams are going up against each other in this tournament so far.
And it's a competitive one at that. They have been taking blows at each other all throughout the weekend. They are very clearly the top 2 teams in this meta, the top 2 teams in this tournament. That was once 16 teams, so we're really getting down to the highest level of play possible. Both teams bringing out their own meta. Kings kind of a slow, methodical gameplay of getting to team fights and then wanting to do the 5v5s with the big team fight ultimates like Baron Samedi ultimate and your Mojo walls and things like that, whereas Titans, they've gone a bit of everything. We see Solo Troll on Amaterasu with Animosity pickup, so a high DPS item there. 3 Hunters we're seeing in play. Ula, there's a lot of preference on Jingwei and AMC and stuff like that. So it's been a long tournament so far, and a meta shaping out to be a great one. Yeah,
there's been a lot of space control, I think, between these two teams as well. So, Ro, I got to ask you, are we expecting to see, because we've seen already, as I mentioned, these two teams have fought against each other before, twice so far. Not today, but yesterday we see there the 2-0 from the Camelot, from the Tartarus Titans onto the Camelot Kings. Are we expecting to see maybe a shift up in the way that Kings approach this matchup?
It's difficult for Kings. They had a pretty hard loss yesterday. I would say they got kind of stomped in a way. Kings, both like what Kings did to Dragons this morning that we saw. Once they got a lead, they kind of ran away with it. That's what Titans did to them yesterday. So maybe taking a page out of their book, or maybe just, the same way this meta breaks down once you get into in-game. So they've had to spend their evening preparing for the Jade Dragons, which is understandable. They want to make it to the finals first before they can face the Titans, but they have had an opportunity since then, about 30 minutes or so, maybe 40 minutes, to look at the Titans gameplay. Obviously, they saw it yesterday and were up against it yesterday. So they can go against the Titans with a whole new strategy. They brought a whole new strategy or counter strategy to Jade Dragons, so maybe they can do the same thing against Titans. That's what they've been spending their night preparing to do, whereas Titans, I imagine, just feel confident in their gameplay. They had a really dominant day yesterday, so if they can bring that level of play back to today, it's going to be a hard ask for the Titans, for the Kings.
And we can see some of the highlights here from the Tartarus Titans, but this has been a very, I would say, groundbreaking strategy that they pulled out here. From the start of last week, we were talking on the desk about these, big ADC comps that we could see coming out because of the ADC meta, but it was really the Titans who spearheaded that style.
It was, yeah, at the start, but they've actually scaled back a little bit, similar to what the Jade Dragons did, and kind of find a happy middle ground between like the Kings playstyle and I suppose the original, this Hunter playstyle. So both teams ending up with a lot of teamfight preference, a lot of teamfight prowess. We're seeing a lot of Ola on mid out of Paul, a lot of Ola on mid out of Big Man Tings. We saw it from other teams in the tournament too. So good AoE ultimates. They prefer to fight in these teamfights if possible, but Titans, normally being one of our stronger early game teams, will maybe try to pressure their early leads against the Kings, while the Kings might try to play slow. But we can ask them themselves maybe.
Yeah, potentially we'll get to that. I think we'll hopefully be able to have a chat with these two teams. But before then, Ro, I got to ask: are you feeling? Do you lean any particular way in terms of warmed up versus non-warmed up? Because obviously the Titans are coming into this set cold.
Yeah, it hasn't been too long for the Kings to wait as well, so they are still warmed up from their last match. I think a personal preference, I prefer to be warmed up. I always liked my SPL teams to play games before we played SPL, so I think I'd prefer to be the Kings in this scenario, but Titans had such a dominant day yesterday. How do you count them out?
Well, I mean, let's ask the players themselves. Paul and Big Man Tings. First off, hello. Well, thank you very much for joining us here. I'm going to ask you each the same question. BMT, do you prefer coming into a set warmed up or cold?
Yeah, I prefer coming in warmed up, honestly. I've had too many past experiences where not coming warmed up, and then you can kind of be caught off guards, but I'm pretty happy in the state we're in right now and going in with that momentum.
Okay. Paul?
Yeah, I agree. Being warmed up is more beneficial, but you know, I got a casual Jost game in before, so
Oh, nice.
We're feeling all right.
who are you slamming in the joust queue?
Wait, what do you mean?
Like, what character are you picking up?
Dude, I'm not leaking that,
Take some
man.
notes.
Okay, sorry. Leakable strats, my bad. I want to ask you both about the Hunter meta that we've been seeing. Obviously, you've both been picking up a lot of these ADCs into that mid lane. Is that something you guys are enjoying? Would you rather go back to playing mid laners?
I'm enjoying it. It's fun. Like every now and then the meta will switch from mages to hunter, so it's a good fresh breath. I can't even speak today. Jesus Christ.
It's spreading.
Yes. It's just a good change. I'm enjoying it. So.
You know, I like it if it was a little bit shorter. I mean, for a whole patch, like traditional mages kind of being like bad. I'm not the biggest fan because I don't know. There's not that much viability, but I don't know. It's like okay, I guess.
Fair enough. Well, I want to ask you each one final question. How are you feeling about being in the grand finals? Is there anything that you want to say?
Just hopefully it's a good set, and hopefully we're on top. We'll see.
Yeah, same thing, but us on top.
Yeah, there we go.
Gotcha. Thank you very much for joining us,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
Head on back. I'm excited to see what you guys bring to the table.
Thanks.
All right, they said it best. You know, both teams feeling pretty confident themselves. They have, you know, pretty secretive strategies by the looks of it, not wanting to reveal anything. Kings, you know, maybe a little less confident because they lost yesterday, and that does give the advantage to Titans. But again, you can say the advantage is Kings because they are the ones warmed up. Both players respecting that. Being warmed up is a little better. I don't think warming up in a Joust game is the same as warming up.
I mean,
up against the
hey,
Jade Dragons, but yeah.
Paul seemed pretty confident. He
Always
had
is.
the joust queue under his belt. He seems pretty happy with that. I think I got to agree with you, though. Obviously, of course, you would way rather have that pro level experience of that competitive match heading into this next one. But how do you think the Titans are going to keep their heads level going into the Kings?
Yeah, I mean, there's an advantage for the Titans as well that we're not talking about either, and they've just seen the Kings play, so they get to see what they've picked and banned against Jade Dragons. You know, those bans being pretty specific to Jade Dragon strategies, so I imagine they'll be different in this regard, but their picks and their playstyle, I imagine, very similar. So Titans get an opportunity to see that firsthand just this morning, get to talk about it while it's happening, and devise new strategies against it. You know, we could just see Titans go back to what they picked and banned yesterday, or we could just see them, you know, bring out a new strategy and ban away some of the things that Camelot Kings were winning with. We saw a lot of, we saw a Loki game, we saw a Kali game out of Captain Twig, so pretty specific gods there, and just in general, 2 games of Baron as well, by the way, something that Titans may want to ban away, or maybe they'll try the Jade Dragon strategy of trying to abuse it in the early game.
Yeah, potentially. And so far, the Kings already they're looking like they want to get rid of some of Titans' heavy hitters. Going to be the Chernabog banned away from SOT, and the Oleron taken away from Paul here. Meanwhile, the Titans, exactly as you said, they want to make sure Genetics isn't on one of these characters who can really control space. The Umoja taken away, the Ymir taken away, and Kali taken away from Twig too.
Interesting that they don't want to play against the Kali. I think it has some counters, but they obviously don't want to play those counters themselves. So Kings get an Ula first pick. That is a valuable pick for the Titans. Both Paul, Solo Troll, and Cyclone Spin all play it on the side of the Titans. So taking it away early for themselves is a good call. Titans, however, get a Khepri and Jingwei in trade, and that is a pretty valuable trade, I would say.
Maybe best in slot. But we did see Kings playing up against the same comp earlier on. They pulled out this exact same thing there too. Netroid going back to the Shibalanke. This worked well for them last set. Will it translate?
I think it's a little bit different of a style because when they picked Shibalanke last time, they knew that Jade Dragons were trying to dive into them and trying to get to their backline, whereas Shibalanke very good at countering that because he just turns off the lights and it becomes much harder for the enemy team. But either way, Shibalanke is strong in team fights because of that ultimate, but Iset also very strong in team fights, so I think we might see maybe a slower early game, maybe a couple ganks, but when these team fights break out, it's going to be just who is better at doing the job of 5-man versus 5-man.
And Paul, you know, maybe the most inclined to take this set here on this Tartarus Titans, as opposed to a lot of other teams where we see it go towards the support or even the jungle, if we're talking about Sinnoh specifically.
Yes, sure. Well, they've already got the Khepri, so I imagine Paul will take that to the mid lane. I think I would guess he's against an Ula at this rate because we'll see the Baron Samedi go into solo lane and the Xbalanque go into the duo lane. So Ula will have a little bit of pressure against that E set, but not too much kill potential, I imagine. If he does hit an axe, it can get a little bit scary for Paul, but honestly, he has so much self-peel for himself, and if he ever needs to drop that ultimate, he can. So I think he'll be just fine, but I imagine big men teams will have that pressure in the mid lane.
Does leave him without a CCI ultimate, though, and that could be something that Variety might want to abuse on this Baron Samedi. The Humbats and the Loki taken away. They clearly did not enjoy watching Captain Twig's performance on the Loki last game, so going to take that one away from him this time around.
A good call on the Hunbats as well. That is really just right up the King's alley of what they want to do in terms of a team fight hunter or a scaling, a team fight jungler or a scaling jungler. The Kali and the Loki scaling very well, and Hunbat's definitely peaking around that team fight stage of the game as well. So Twig having some of his options taken away from him, it will be a little bit harder for him to pick a more comfortable god here.
The Nemesis picked up by the Titans. This is one of their top picks so far over the course of Masters. It's worked out very, very well for them. Really helps them blow up that front line and making sure that they can't really capitalize of having that wall in the front. But the Kings have played with some squishier mage supports, and we got obviously the Baron in that solo lane this time around. So we'll have to see what they're going to move to in this last two slots. It does look like it's most likely to be jungle and support hero. You got any ideas what they might be feeling out?
Not just yet. We'll have to wait on that one, but a good call by you on the protection shred from Nemesis. They also have it on the ESET 3 that reduces magical protections. They also have it on the Kepri 2 that also reducing protection. So a lot of protections being shredded away from the King, so Titans can look at killing a frontliner, something Jingwei is relatively good at because she rarely gets into the enemy backline. So they're going to focus on killing the junglers and the supports, which they are yet to pick. So Kings, I imagine, they want to build some mobility on their supports, something that bolsters their defenses so they're able to outlive this protection shred team comp that Titans have.
And Ro, while we're waiting for the selection here coming out, never mind, Genetic's going to take this one for me.
Good amount of mobility.
Fafnir picked up here by the Kings. We saw how good this could do last game. It's going to be paired up with a Gilgamesh, likely for Twig.
Interesting pick, kind of, and the way I see it right now, since Gilgamesh has been nerfed so much, he is more relegated to having those good ganks and having that good teamfight ultimate. Somewhat similar to Humbats, but less extreme in that regard. So a good pick after that Humbats is banned away, and then the Fafnir will be all the DPS they need as well. So I think the same kind of style, the exact style of what Kings want to play is what they've got, and it's up to Titans to see if they have counter-drafted that. The Osiris will be a good move in that regard. I think be able to chase down the Xbalanque and the Ula a little bit, but if he gets hit by one of those hammers and with that bolstered offensive ability that the Fafnir 2 brings, it's going to be difficult for any of them to live, so they may have to rely on that Kepri ultimate a little bit.
Yeah, very likely going towards SOT, this Osiris. We've seen this being picked up by layers in the jungle before, but Sot doesn't hate picking this one up for himself.
I might argue, actually, I don't think Osiris is a good matchup. In fact, I would say it's a terrible matchup into the Baron. So it used to be like a counter pick back in the day. I'm not sure it's still that extreme anymore, so we may see Nemesis solo here. I've seen Solo Troll play it before in Ranked.
Oh.
I'm sure he's sliced and diced me a couple times himself. So you just go that Golden Blade and you end up getting the clear, and he's got those double dashes to get away from Baron. So it's a relatively safe pick in that regard. Generally, I do think it is better in the jungle, but I'd say there's certainly some flexibility between these two picks.
Just goes to show that with these high-level teams, there is almost an infinite amount of positions they could play these in. I mean, we've seen this week so many different characters being played in so many different positions from where you would expect. So, I mean, we'll have to see how that pans out, if Layers will be taking the Osiris or if it will be the Nemesis instead.
That being said, even if the Osiris doesn't have that great of a matchup, he can kind of just clear, and then if he needs to alter away from this Baron Samedi, he can do so. And then he's just scaling. He is a very, very strong Boomba's Hammer's god as well. So if he gets to that point along with Baron Samedi, he's going to be really comfortable. I think we saw it was Relentless one on the Wardens way back, way back. There's been a lot of games since then, but it was just last week where he had some really effective late game team fights on this Osiris once you get the Boomba's Hammer online. So if he can pair that with the rest of the teamfight prowess that comp has, then they could be a real threat in the teamfights that Kings are not used to fighting against. They just played against Jade Dragons, who yes, are a good team fighting team, but they didn't build for team fight. So we might see like a meeting in the middle here of two metas, and then all of a sudden we're going to see some really competitive team fights.
So tell me a little bit about this duo lane hero. Obviously for the Kings, we're seeing the Xbalanque and the Fafnir up against the other two. Well, we'll have to wait, I think,
Fine by
to see about that question because, Ro, we are on the precipice, these two teams. I'm going to ask you instead about the whole comp as a whole. Remove the names, just look at the characters. Who won the draft?
I want to say Kings, but it might just be recency bias because when they got this kind of draft, they kind of dominated the Jade Dragons. But yesterday, the Kings were dominated by Titans. So let's see it get into action.
Will the Kings be burnt to ashes, or will they succeed over the Titans?
It's gonna be an intense start. Thought maybe we would get something going right out the gate, but it will not be so. Just some ward coverage out there. How's it going? It's J-Mac and Trelly here. Game 1 of the grand finals between the Camelot Kings and the Tartarus Titans. And Captain Twig, Trelly, going to a pick that we haven't seen much at all this entire tournament, just as a whole. One that was so dominant for him in the past. So talk to me a little bit about this Gilgamesh pick.
Yeah, risking the game 1 momentum on a Gilgamesh pick is very interesting to me because you mentioned that it was very strong. It took some nerfs and now has fallen a bit out of the meta. We've seen more the mobile assassins that just build Golden Blade and completely sprint to farm. More often than not, that's what's running the meta right now. Gilgamesh does that a little bit with the movement speed lost on his leap rather than he's a little bit slower. So I think that Captain Twig is going to feel pretty confident. It's just, you know, how much has he been practicing it since it hasn't fallen out of the meta? I think he'll be fine.
It's going to take maybe a little bit of time, though. Dropkick always still just a powerful and potent ability to have right at level 2 or 3, depending if you get the leap with your slow right there. So maybe see some action towards that mid lane going up against an E-set and a Nemesis. Paul really has been loving to go over towards this E-set. It's a pick that we saw a little bit yesterday with the Bolts. Not a lot of success from Venenu, but Paul has been able to make some good moves on this guy.
Yeah, already made an adaptation here as we see a little bit of aggression in this dual lane. Taking over to level 2 first is going to make sure that you're able to outpoke so much. Now Rory is going to have to play very safe in this lane given the fact that they just have so much extra damage. But Paul's going for the tier 2 Book of Thoth first. Usually we've been seeing Warlock Sash in that position. That's going to give a lot more damage, less survivability. But with E-set, more damage is just going to make you do way more with your Circle of Protection. The confirm will be a lot easier. You'll be healing more and things like that. So I like this adaptation here. We'll see if it pays off for him.
Charlie, I might be just a little bit worried for the Titans because this is now 3 games in a row that Big Man Tings has gotten to pilot this Ullr.
Oh, yeah.
He's hot on this god now. He's gotten 2 very clean games on him the time before, if we're not mistaken. 1, if even that many deaths on him throughout those 2 games against the Dragons. If you're the Tartarus Titans, you gotta be keeping your eyes out for Big Man Tings.
Yeah, I don't think you can let this Ullr free cast. And for me, when I want to warm up before I queue rank games, I go into jungle practice, I pick Ullr, and I just see how many axes I can hit on the moving Odin bot. BMT's played 2 games against pros, and I didn't see him miss any axes. So he is definitely looking pretty hot on this pick right now. They're going to have to play very safe, and I think Paul is not going to be stepping up too far in the lane because of that. But now once this blue buffs are going to be spawning in here, I expect to see a little bit of action from the junglers. Captain Twig is already around this soul lane. The Lairs is a little bit behind, but still showing some presence as well.
And I think the thing that I'm really going to be watching specifically towards that mid lane matchup, you know, one of the problems that we talked about with Venenu and his matchup on that god is that he can just never get involved in the fight. We'll see if Paul can do so as it gets later. The blue buff is invaded by the Titans, but won't go much further than there. A drop kick out of Captain Twig will send the buff at Lairs to secure the buff.
He essentially said, you know, I'm going to cancel out that slice and dice and kick the buff at you, make sure we get that one. And now Variety's going to be sitting a little bit happier in that lane. Does have to teleport, which SOT just started tier 2 Golden Blade and beat. It's going to be a lot safer in that lane, probably going for that late game Bumba's Hammer, wanting to get that online. But teleport, make sure that you get that extra health bar, make sure you can out-rotate whenever you really want. If you upgrade that teleport so much that you have to watch out for your team, SOT has to take the long con way all the way to lane whenever he has to back. He isn't going to be getting poked out too much once he gets that Golden Blade online, but right now, clearing the way pretty slow.
Yeah, there's one thing that, you know, Ro kind of touched on the desk, that this Baron-Osiris counter matchup, you know, is something that the Barons really love to run. It's why when Baron becomes popular, we've seen less Osiris. So why do you think SOT's running the Osiris into this bad match?
I just think he's nuts on Osiris. He doesn't care about the matchup. He says, late game, I will be a Bumba's Hammer Osiris. I will be able to blink. I don't need teleport, so I get beads and blink. And I'm just going to be annoying with the tether, lowering the damage of all of these ADCs on the other team as well. Ullr and Xbalanque are going to have some hard times DPSing this Osiris in the later stage of the game. I think it's just confidence. For me, SOT, this tournament alone has made me, he's considered one of the best players in the world right now just because of his performance thus far. He can play so many different picks. I think he's just coming in with a chip on his shoulder. He's saying, I'll play Osiris into a bad matchup. I don't care.
does have his Golden Blade picked up along with layers, so they've got the jungle clear, they've got the wave clear, at least for the side of SOT. Variety has not gone back to pick up that Warlock staff. Captain Twig will rotate in, a blink onto SOT, and no ultimate for SOT to find a way. And he's gonna get pulled back into the coffin slowly, but he won't go through. It's a double ult out of the Kings, but they still haven't gotten that kill. Drop kick up against Layers, a dash away. Layers needs one more auto or the ult from SOT to turn it back around, and the Titans come out on top with first blood.
Big man Tings, though, does have the rotation, not going to have the axe, and will not be able to chase that one down. This is what I'm talking about. That was a level 4 Osiris, had to save the beads, right? Captain Twig says, I'm going to use the Winds of Samash, I'm going to get the beads. You pull him back in with the coffin, easy kill. SOT says, I don't care, I'm going to wait the very last second, and then beads ticks over to level 5, Lord of the Afterlife. They're able to answer back. Layers actually didn't get the credit for the kill, SOT did, so now he's going to be even bigger in that lane. Great rotation by Layers, though, to make sure, seeing out that gank, you can see the wards there. They know when Captain Twig is going to make that rotation over, and not off to a great start on the Gilgamesh. 0-1.
Will be a nice start for the Tartarus Titans. Though, in the previous matchup for the Kings, they were accustomed, I almost don't want to say used to, I don't want to say that they want to, because they just certainly don't, but they're so accustomed to going down 2,000-3,000 gold early, and then once this 20 to 25 minute point kind of ticks around, that's when the Camelot Kings really start kind of getting involved in these team fights, start bringing that gold lead back. So this first blood, that's not going to be anything too wild, at least for the Tartarus Titans to pull any kind of significant lead just yet.
Yeah, the Camelot Kings definitely a team that don't, as you mentioned, they don't love going behind, but they don't hate it either. Their team fight is what they're really building for. They have 2 ADCs, they have a Fafnir, they have a bunch of CC with the Fafnir and the Baron combo, so they're not sweating right now, but the question is, what do you do with that first blood? Obviously, it went to SOT, so I imagine Layers will probably spend a little bit more time over here now. So let's get this Osiris ahead. Sure, he's 1 level up right now. What happens when he gets 2, 3 items online and is able to rotate freely? Genetics, though, and Captain Twig are wrapping around on Cyclone Spin.
Cyclone does have beads, does have ult, used his dash and will at least secure an offering before he maybe goes down. Airstrike is out, Captain Twig will continue the chase, but will not use the ult to try and slow down or burn those beads away. Cyclone makes it out, only losing on his ultimate.
Yeah, that's a really smart play by Captain Twig. 9 out of 10 junglers probably drop the wins there just to get the beads, but let's think about this. That's a Jingwei. When are you ever going to gank that? BMT, though, is going to get the beads down as well and return a little bit of damage onto Layers. It's hard to gank the Jingwei, even with the beads down. Airstrike, one of the best get-out-of-jail-free cards in the game. Rather use the Winds of Samash for something else. Twig recognizes that right away and says, all right, I'm going to go to mid, see what we can do over there.
Especially how active he's able to get. Showed up, Big Man Tings will be fine. He loses speed. A dash in by Genetics and Netrioid. Genetics finds the hammer up onto Aurora. Cyclone is the one eating most of the damage, though. Some good pot shots by Netrioid and Genetics to put a little bit of pressure in that duo lane. But now they've left Big Man Tings alone in mid.
Yeah, if you didn't see last game, Netroid went the same style of build. This isn't what we have been seeing. This isn't the Gilded into the Dev Gauntlets. It's the Leather Cowl into Transcendence. He was hitting like a truck late game. The Transcendence is going to make sure that your autos are doing a ton of damage and you get to spam your abilities because of the free mana. So it's not one of those things that we got to say, let's see if this works out. We know that it worked out and he looked pretty darn good on it. So he's going to get a little bit more pressure. Jingwei not really wanting to box into Shivalong K right now. Once some crit comes in, I imagine that'll go the other way.
Stun is good against Big Man Tings. Layers get spotted out in the jungle as the solo laner Variety has made a rotation towards the mid lane. He'll try and get these mid camps, maybe find a pick of his own on that rotation, but he won't find anything, at least not for now. Genetics still waiting in the jungle as just Netroid has been bullying both members of the dual lane of the Tartarus Titans. They have not gotten a chance to really lead this tower line.
Yeah, Roar is also soaking up a lot of farm as well. Layers is going to get some damage, but Captain Twig and BMT are here.
Layers uses the dash, Captain Twig uses the ultimate, and Layers does not have a way to get out of the winds. Needs one more auto, but the Scarab's blessing out of Aurora will make sure that Layers finds a way out as Captain Twig steals away the purple buff and the Kings can walk away with their prize.
Yeah, the Kings want this red buff as well. Paul already used a Spirit Ball, so I don't think there's going to be any more contention. This will be a successful invade by the Camelot Kings. The gold lead is still going to favor the Titans a little bit. Remember, SOT did get credit for that first blood, but they are inching ever closer. The Kings, they're feeling confident right now. They're able to force some fights here, at least some engages, so they can get small wins around the map. Their micro farm and their macro farm is always going to be so solid here. They want to make sure that they're getting their own neutral camps, but also denying the Tartarus Titans of their own buffs. There's a 2-level lead right now. Cyclone Spin just ticks over to level 8 when Netroid's been level 9.
He's sitting at that level 9 for a while. Even Big Man does have a small lead in the mid lane, about a half level to 1 up over Paul. Captain Twig was behind after that failed gank in the right lane for a little while, but he's been able to shore up some of that XP difference. Even Variety, who had to share a little bit of that experience, had to share a little bit of that folly. He's even starting to fall behind against SOT. In the counter matchup, Variety is losing this one.
I'm very surprised that Paul is building into the Warlocks. I thought because of that Tier 2 Book of Thought start, he was just committing to, you know, I don't want Warlocks, it's going to take too long for Power Spike. But he is going to go for it, and at the Sands of Time. With the upgrade, the Pendulum, that's going to be a lot of extra damage late game. Paul's making sure that he's able to swing, but what that tells me, though, is he does not want to fight right now. Once these items get stacked, he'll have a massive Power Spike. Right now, though, he's sort of in between Power Spikes, whereas BMT can just like 100 to 0 you with one combo. This is just Paul saying, I'm going to clear an AFK for a bit. I'll meet you at that first Gold Fury.
Coffin from Variety doesn't get the stun on SOT despite being right at that tower line. Genetics will find a stun on Aurora in the jungle as they rotate past the Gold Fury pit. But Trelly, I can't recall a single time that we've actually ever seen a double stacking from mid. In this instance, that wasn't something like a Baba Yaga. Is this really just Paul and the Titans saying that we know the Kings want to go late game and we're going to make sure that we have something for late game?
Yeah, that shows confidence. BMT is going to jump out here as they are getting a little bit aggressive in that mid lane.
Cyclone eats the disarm. Purple buff is stolen away, but nothing more beyond there unless Aurora does find that grab, and he did. Genetics will be able to walk back. Captain Twig rotating over. Cyclone spots that one out alongside Aurora. So no gank for Captain Twig, just a single purple invade for Genetics.
Yeah, Layers almost had BMT there, but the call off once the Darkest of Nights come in, Captain Twig gets a nice blink and pause to beats.
That's going to be the beat. Circle protection drops through, but Paul doesn't get a chance to even pop it for himself. Layers is bouncing off of the walls. A good stun by Genetics, but a better dash by Layers to find a way out. Aurora will toss out the root to make sure there's no further follow-up, and the Titans only lose their mid laner.
That whole kill is just because Variety was able to teleport in and help out. If Variety is sitting in lane, I don't think they're ever going to be able to find anything off that Genetics, though. He wants this red buff. Variety is still here, and SOT, look at him. He's in lane right now. No one is going to be helping out the Tartarus Titans. They will not be able to confirm their red buff, and Layers is looking pretty weak as well.
Variety had the coffin ready. I'm honestly surprised he didn't try to fire it out. Maybe force a Scare's Blessing, because Paul didn't have any relics. Probably could have gotten a pull there. Layers doesn't have beads. He had Blink, and that's still down. Could have maybe tried to force something out there. But instead, Camelot Kings will put a lot of pressure on this mid-tier 1 tower, already sitting down to about 20% health.
Yeah, BMT's level 12 right now to Paul's 10. I mean, the gold is looking relatively even. The Camelot Kings are actually ahead now, given that. They're looking at this tier 1 tower, but the XP definitely has been looking pretty solid for them. They're able to steal so much away. Look at them, 4-man grouping on this Greater Scorpion. The Tartarus Titans essentially just have to roll over and say, take all the farm. We can't fight you right now.
This is something the Kings do all the time. They group up, they grab as early a Pyromancer as they can, as early a Gold Furies as possible, stealing away Scorpions. This is a farm-oriented team. Sometimes it requires them to get their hands a little dirty, you know, get a little bit of brawling out there before they can do so. But if you give the Camelot Kings an inch, they'll take a mile when it comes to the jungle.
Yeah, I have to imagine that right now the Tartarus Titans are still on, let's just sit on the back foot here, maybe. If Layers is able to force something, we'll go for a gank. But help out, make sure Cyclone get his purple, make sure SOT can get his blue. And Paul's like, guys, I don't even want to rotate. I want to stack this Warlock sash. I don't get 3 stacks. I'm not Baba Yaga. I have to clear, I don't know, like 8 or 9 waves to make sure I get even close to finishing this Warlock sash. So I'm going to be sitting here for quite some time. And that's why we're seeing that level disparity, and that's why we're seeing that the Camelot Kings have taken control of the vehicle right now. They are in the driver's seat.
Yeah, because Variety has picked up that teleport that you mentioned earlier on, he's able to make these rotations, get a little bit of that XP back towards himself. Now him just about a half level up over SOT.
J-Mac, I don't think you noticed it yet. So when was the last time you saw Gem of Isolation being built?
When it was a 2 seconds on its slow.
Yeah, so Genetics just purchased its second item on this Fafnir. That is going to be a lot of setup, but also going to make him a pretty easy target right now. Just the Gauntlet of Thieves. As long as you have some gold, you'll be pretty tanky. But Genetics is just frontlining. They want this tier 1 tower and left, and that's really all you can do. The Trebuchet is going to help out.
Yeah, tier 1 tower goes down. A very early 13-minute one in the dual lane. Spirit Ball does connect onto Captain Twig, but he's got the leap to get himself out there. The Camelot Kings with this Trebuchet, and a very early one to send out. Very often with these teams for the SPL, we have been seeing them hold on to these Trebuchets until a major push. The Camelot Kings throw out one early, and with it they grab the tier 1 tower with its help, and rotate over and take mid-tier 1.
And they're going to get both tier 1s here as Variety made that rotation. And look at this. They're already trading the gold trade back and forth. There's no one from the Titans that is even close. Aurora too little, too late. That is going to go the way of the Camelot Kings. They took control of the car a bit ago, but they are just slamming down the gas pedal. They do not care. They're not waiting for any answer back. The Tartarus Titans are going to try to get a consolation prize in the Pyromancer, but they actually went off it. They're going for Variety.
Yeah, they made a shuffle up as far as their layers goes. Or Variety pulled back. He will go down. Paul finds a big circle protection, not quite enough to take down Captain Twig, but Cyclone left by himself against the duo of the Kings means that it's going to be a 1-for-1 trade-out Variety for Cyclone.
Yeah, and it looks like the Tartarus Titans will be able to grab this Pyromancer. So a small answer back. SOT gets credit for both of those kills. So putting a lot of gold and a lot of XP into their solo lane, trying to get him on that fast track to upgrading a starter item. I think that's going to help out a ton if you have this Osiris that just has unlimited cooldowns in the backline. Something to note with this Fafnir is one of the cooler tricks that we see on these Fafnirs. We don't really see it too much in the SPL, but you're allowed to give Soul Reaver and Soul Gem procs to your carries by using that Coerce. It does work with Gem of Isolation, so whenever we see that Coerce applied, there will be some extra slows coming through whenever the carries are making use of that. Could be a little bit annoying to deal with. You do have 2 ADCs, and whenever the Coerce is popped, probably just a little bit of extra CC.
Right now, the Camelot Kings do have control of the momentum of the game. 1,500 gold up for the Order side team after going down about 1,000 earlier on. And this, again, just parodies exactly what we've been seeing from the Kings in their matchups all day so far. Up against the Dragons, they go down 2,000 gold in game 1. They swing it back. They go down 2,000-3,000 gold in game 2. They swing it back. The Camelot Kings are so dialed in on their farm game. There's very few teams in the league that can step up to it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like Cyclone Spin's going to be able to step up to anything, because every time he does, this happens. Look at his HP, already half health. That was just poison darts and an auto attack. That's all it's really going to take. Layers doesn't have a tower here, and it looks like he's going to get chunked down.
Jump in by big man Tings. The lights are out. Captain Twig finds the drop kick, but it's going to bring Layers right back to the waiting arms of Aurora, who had that Scare's Blessing ready to go. But that's going to be a big ultimate expended for that kill.
Yeah, SOT trying to confirm some of the farm here as we see a 3-level lead. This Shivalanke has no fear. He is standing at tier 2 tower. Netroid does not care about anything the Tartarus Titans have. BMT has to beats, but Netroid's stealing away offerings right now.
Yeah, now he's been caught out. He'll get the CC immunity to be able to get back to the team. Layers slice and dice is good, but there are 4 members of the Kings here to bail out Netroid. He'll just turn around and bat a few more autos back, but now it's 5 from the Titans to leap in. We'll find Netroid for SOT. He will go down and finally pay for his transgressions. Genetics knocked up, Genetics knocked down. Layers turns it around and gets a second kill for the Titans.
Primal Fury is not going to be up for 2 minutes, so that can't be what they're looking at here. What will they do while 2 members are down? The Tartarus Titans might look for a red buff in May, but SOT going to take a fair bit of damage from BMT here. He's running out of mana. Maybe a tier 1 tower, but they don't have the health bars for that one either, J-Mac. They're going to have to back off here. Just take those 2 kills, seal away as much farm as you can, and get out. Cyclone Spin finally going to get a purple buff, though.
And not just his purple buff, though. He's going to make sure to take Netroid's purple buff, the one that has been sitting inside of his jungle at his tier 2 tower for the majority of this game. Finally, the Titans are able to pump the brakes up against the Camelot Kings and slow down a little bit of that momentum, because that's not what you want to have against the Kings. You don't want to give them full control. The Titans were finally able to slow them down.
Yeah, I really think the Tartarus Titans are still feeling confident. I believe the way they're building, the way they are, the way they're sort of just a little bit on the brakes, not pushing too far up. They're confident in their late game team fight. SOT has 3 kills to his name at the moment, level 16. Obviously, Cyclone Spin would prefer not to be stuffed under his tier 2 tower, but he is on Jing Wei. Once he gets online, he should be able to win those boxing trades unless he's, there's more often than not a few more Camelot Kings running at him. So right now, the red buff will be taken away. Paul is the one hurting the most at the moment. He hasn't been able to get too much farm, and that Warlock stash is still not stacked up.
Hasn't been able to get there just yet. In fact, he'll be able to buy a full out Obsidian Shard during the time that he's been worrying on stacking out. But it's only a few away. One more good wave to Paul. Should be able to fully stack that. That'll give him a decent bit of extra HP, some of that percent pen as well, so we can now try and stand up to Big Man Tings, do some damage to these tanks. But really, it's only Genetics who's built any kind of magic defense just yet. Variety only now building into it.
Yeah, the reason that Genetics only has 2 items, we touched on that Gem of ISO so long ago, and we're going to bring it back as SOT might be looking to find BMT here. 3-letter syllables, I just realized there's a lot of them. I might be doing that more often than not. I'll probably start saying full names, Big Man Tings, and Solo or Troll. either way, both relics fully upgraded for Genetics. That Frenzy is going to make sure they're able to shred objectives very quickly, and that Hasten Wings make sure they can just W key, the old gas pedal, so it's called. You're able to just say, hey, we're going to run you down as quickly as possible. Not going to be as tanky, but those relics are essentially better than a tank item because your whole team gets buffed.
Genetics dewards the Fury Pit, so he'll have vision in case the Titans do decide to start up this objective. Cyclone's been able to close up some of that gap that Netroid had created from earlier on. Now it's only about a level and a half that Netroid has up over the opposition, but they're fairly similar points in their build. I mean, they both got at least a crit item fully built up. They've got some decent attack speed, but Netroid just having those extra levels, all that extra HP, could just be enough as the Kings once again group up around the Fury.
And they're pretty confident in this one. Yeah, the Circle of Protection is available, and that's a double stacked E set, so that's going to be easily the biggest form of contention on the map. Genetics has to jump out really early, and SOT is just playing zone duty right now.
Good heal from Variety, though, will make sure that Genetics gets to get a little bit of that HP back, plus his own chorus giving him some health. But meanwhile, the Kings, while distracting the Titans on the left side of the map, have pushed that Trebuchet, and a tier 1 tower in right lane will go down. And it's got a decent bit of HP to it. That Trebuchet can do some numbers against that tier 2 if Layers doesn't stop it.
Yeah, if you want to talk about some numbers, if the Tartarus Titans back off even for a second, Genetics will be able to go into the Draconic form, drop that Coerce, and this Gold Fury will be an afterthought. It'll be burned down far too quickly. So the Tartarus Titans can never be too far away from this objective. As long as they have vision, they should be all right, but never can say, hey, we'll back real quick. Maybe they won't be able to do it. That's all it takes, 5 seconds or so, and this Gold Fury will be gone.
Good damage up against Genetics. He'll need a little bit more poke and some more damage from Paul on the E set. Also, 2 levels behind up against BMT. I say also, but Cyclone has been able to close up his deficit now to a pretty much even state at this point. Layers will go to the Trebuchet, so it's a man down for the Titans. That is the call for the Camelot Kings. Start grouping up. Variety finds some good damage against Paul. Circle of Protection is dropped. Variety will make his way out, up onto the coffin. Who will he pull in? It's going to be SOT, but he'll be just fine. He's still very healthy on this Osiris. Now we'll finally have to leap away as Genetics leaps back in. Big Man Ting's right behind, finds a good axe toss. And Aurora will have to find his way out as Layers has rejoined the fray. Cyclone Spin comes up with the first kill of the fight.
Yeah, Tartarus Titans are able to run away, but
What?
SOT lazy backs in the middle of the fight.
Why are you backing there, SOT? You may have just ended up costing the team the rest of this fight. Cyclone Spin's got to use the airstrike. Not feeling good about that one is the Tartarus Titans, and now that gives the Camelot Kings the option to take the Primal Fury.
I can't believe I said SOT was looking like the best player in the world, and then he just makes me eat my words making a play like that.
What was that? Why are you backing knowing that there's 4 people on the other side of that wall?
I mean, to be fair, if he does get back, the Tartarus Titans can quickly reset. Hold that thought. They're looking for an ambush here. They're all set up. Genetics is going to get deleted.
Genetics gone. Layers credited to the kill. The Titans find a nice pick to answer back up against SOT. That should open the door for the Pyromancer at the least, unless the Titans can find another one. Captain Twigs got to leap away, and the Titans will close up with an objective of their own.
I was going to say they should be going for fire here. Maybe they're a little scared right now, but Captain Twig jumped away. BMT has no mana, and no one else is anywhere close. Circle Protection is coming off cooldown as well. It's really low.
Big Man Tings has a little bit of mana to try and fight this. Circle Protection is here. It's got to be secured by the Titans, and it is a turnaround after losing the Gold Fury, losing the fight over there. The Tartarus Titans have finally been able to grab something for themselves, Pyro and Fire.
SOT is more big brain than we imagined. That was all a bait, J-Mac. They wanted to say, hey, we're going to go for the Gold Fury. Oh, I know, I was fake backing. You killed me. Psych, we're going to get Pyromancer, bait you in now. An FG for the Tartarus Titans. Actually, all 5 SOT spawned in time. So all 5 members of the Tartarus Titans have this Fire Giant buff around their belt. And they're about to look for a lot of gold. 3 tier 2 towers available, 2 tier... Actually, every single tower is up. Even that left tier 2 tower is still available. So every single tower is up. I imagine the Camelot Kings, since the gold is pretty even, are going to want to defend this. Because if you just give this up because you're afraid of the Fire Giant buff, that gold lead is going to start to climb to an enormous level.
Yeah, a lot of free gold for the Titans to grab on the Kings side of the map. And they can slow burn this one. The Titans don't need to concern themselves with trying to push for a Phoenix or anything like that. Now that they've evened out this game, they've closed up the gold lead, they've closed up most of the experience differences. The only one behind right now is Paul in that mid lane, and it's not really all that much considering. So the Titans, now with control of the car finally for themselves, will begin their push on the left side.
Yeah, Cyclone Spin was able to find so much farm despite being down, despite falling pretty early and losing that tier 1 tower, hitting level 20 pretty much at the same time as Netroid. It was a little bit, but the build is still online. You still have that Envenom Deathbringer, and looking at Aurora, he has that Emperor's Armor as well, so this tower is going to melt.
Your ball hits Captain Twig, tier 2 tower, does go down, and immediately the Titans will regroup through the jungle and march their way over to the mid. No reason to try and pick an unnecessary fight.
I'm a little surprised here. I thought the Camelot Kings would defend, and they sort of did a half defense, but if you're just going to give these towers up, send someone to right lane, send someone to left, split up, and try to get some farm. If you're going to actually siege a fight, then siege a fight. Right now, it seems like they're just showing a little bit of face in case someone steps out too far. They're looking for a pick here. They want to get Fire Giant off the Titans.
Captain Twig is in the right side jungle, could make a loop back in. Genetics rooted out, but no further push just yet from the Titans. Layers now making a loop around as the speed buff spawns right in front of him. He'll go ahead and take himself a free buff. Nobody on the Camelot Kings able to stop that one. So no tier 2 push from the Titans, though. They're just going to regroup on the right side now.
Yeah, they have a fair bit of gold. They can back right now and get a little bit of a power spike. Aurora has 3,000 gold in hand, and Layers also has about 3,000, so should be able to upgrade that Eye of the Jungle at the very least. And that's going to be a power spike that you want. A Seer of the Jungle or Protector of the Jungle. Either one is going to help you out a ton as this game goes on. And considering the fact that this might be one of those sets where a lot of Fire Giants go down in one game, I think Seer of the Jungle might really be useful here. Just getting rid of all of the vision, making sure that the Camelot Kings cannot see you anywhere on the map and they don't know exactly what's going on.
It does force them being the Kings to have to buy a few more wards in order to try and keep any kind of coverage. More sentries, more regular wards, but right now they're going to have to sell some of those Baron's Brews if they want to get a couple of different kinds of wards out here. Everybody on the Kings with the brew, which means unless they sell them, you're only going to get one type of ward for this team.
Yeah, and SOT just sold the Golden Blade for full Bumba's Hammer. He still has another item slot. I mean, I know Bumba's Hammer is a massive power spike, but I feel like he didn't have to force that unless, of course, they're trying to fight right now. Cyclone Spin is going to take the 1v1 versus Captain Twig. No one is here to help.
And Captain Twig uses the ultimate. Cyclone Spin will just walk him down. Airstrike and a dive right back in. Maybe two more autos from Cyclone should grab that one through. Captain Twig does find the blink, but Cyclone Spin's got backup. Paul is here, and Paul will just meander over and grab that kill.
And that's a massive shutdown. Now they've got a little bit more time. Fire Giant runs off in 3 seconds, so if Twig doesn't get picked there, I imagine the push is over. Now that it's a 5v4, that mid-tier 2, that Primal Fury, that should be going the way of the Tartarus Titans for free. And they should be getting a Trebuchet here as well as Aurora steals away those offerings.
Yeah, he's got 2 more that he can grab. The question is, will the Camelot Kings let him take all of them? No, they will not. He doesn't even need to grab the other 2 because somebody picked up one along the way. So finally, the Titans are able to grab their own Trebuchet, and they'll push down the Primal Fury, get a little bit of extra damage because that next Fire Giant is going to be up for contest between the Kings. No Phoenixes down means that they can all be there ready to go.
Yeah, Paul's able to upgrade. Will he go for the alternate timeline? Sometimes he likes to care about his life more than his damage, but because he's double stacked, actually he just goes for Book of Soul, so not really interested in upgrading that Sands of Time just yet. The Book of... Oh, he's going Book of the Dead with Book of Thought and Warlock Sash. That's going to be a pretty large shield on top of the fact that he has his own shell, and he's going to have Circle of Protection. Killing this E set is going to be very difficult to do as long as... And you have to worry about Scarab's Blessing, too. Paul is essentially just going for the most annoying build I've seen in a while.
He's got like 3 health bars with everything you just listed out to me. Maybe 4 at this point. It is going to be annoying to say the least for the Kings to find a pick on the mid laner. Pyromancer goes down as soon as it respawns in. Good poke and good CC up onto Aurora. That'll force the dash away, but SOT has run straight to the backline. He'll lead a drop kick from Captain Twig, but he's healing up nicely from those Bumba's Hammer procs, but so are the Kings from those heals out of Variety.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about. SOT with the Tether and Bumba's Hammer. I mean, Netroid is essentially a full build hunter, just Deathbringer missing. He's taking no form of damage. Right now, gonna get poked down a little bit. Still has Lord of the Afterlife if he needs to escape, but he's not stressing. He's not sweating right now. He is completely fine.
Needs and Blink are both up for SOT and that ultimate, so he should be able to get out of here no problem, especially with Aurora and Layers standing by. The Camelot Kings are pushing up this right side. SOT only being at half means that the Tartarus Titans won't be at full strength to make a defense.
They do have archers here, so they will remove the backdoor protections. This tier 2 tower will go down very quickly, and SOT has to back. If they do this quickly, they should have a 5v4 at the Fire Giant, but Circle of Protection is still on the table. Paul has both relics in his full HP. A quick pull is not on the cards for the Camelot Kings. They want to fight. They want someone to step up too far, maybe a relic, anything of that sort would go a long way, and now they are just going to be retreating. But the Tartarus Titans, this is a different story for them. They could essentially just pull this and say, we have a better confirm. We are fine with 50-50ing this.
Paul will try and put some pressure up against Genetics, but Genetics got some good juke boots to avoid most of what Paul was throwing out. And now we have a 5 versus 5 group up. SOT in the back line of the Camelot Kings, very deep on this Osiris. And he's just waiting around this corner for anybody to walk up, maybe see if he can find some pressure.
Yeah, anyone walking up too far for a Spirit Ball, there's Variety taking a big chunk of damage. Just one of those from Paul could mean the initiation and could mean the Fire Giant's getting pulled soon after. No one is really ready to pull the trigger here. 50 seconds before this Fire Giant gets enhanced, J-Mac. I would not be surprised if we just saw a slow battle for that turning into the EFG. No one is really pushing too far out of position here.
Oh, absolutely. I don't imagine either of these teams want to grab it right away if they can just wait a few more seconds and push it to that late game stage. Spirit Ball and a big stun on the big man Tings. Beads and Aegis are down for the Hunter. He's got to jump himself on out. Big man Tings low Cyclone will crit him down. That's the first one gone. The Tartarus Titans push in. Spirit Ball gets the beads from Variety, and SOT is still chopping away. Layers will pick up the kill on Variety.
And they're going to keep chasing this one down. Who cares about a Fire Giant? You have a 2-man advantage. They will have to back up, though. This tier 2 tower is going to be a little bit too much to chew through. That Titan can't be looked at. They're looking for a pick, though. SOT is getting damage, but is he really taking that much? Not really.
No, he's fighting it right back. Netroid's got to dash away. Will not be stunned by the tether, and the rest of the Titans, or I say that, but it's only a couple of them. Cyclone and Layers are taking the Fire Giant, while SOT will take the drop kick under the Phoenix. Netroid so low. Netroid gone. Genetics gone. It's only Captain Twig left to fight against the Tartarus Titans. He's doing everything that he can, but it's not going to be enough. Now that the rest of the Titans have rallied around, it's a deicide for the Titans. The Camelot Kings only have a few seconds till Big Man Tings is back up, but that's going to be a hard defense for him and Variety.
Circle of Protection's not up. They have a little bit of CC with that Life of the Party available, but so much damage from the Tartarus Titans. No one alive is able to kill SOT right now. Scarab's Blessing is still here.
Big Man Tings rooted out, has to jump away, but Variety gets silenced out, gets Spirit Ball, gets pulled back, and gets brought down. Cyclone credited to the kill, and now it is only Big Man Tings left to defend. The Tartarus Titans will march through and take game number 1 away from the Camelot Kings.
All it took was one little bit of CC, a Spirit Ball into a Silence, into a Chingwei updraft. That's all it took for Big Man Tings to get deleted. And then the Tartarus Titans, they felt the confidence. It was a 5v4, and they just W-keyed. Layers and Cyclone Spin were able to do Fire Giant by themselves, while SOT dove the Phoenix with help of Aurora, and that was all it took. That was it.
And the Camelot Kings started off slow in the early, found their stride in the mid lane, and then the Tartarus Titans were able to finally pump the brakes, take that Fire Giant away from the Camelot Kings, and put that game back in their control. And now the Tartarus Titans start this setup with a 1-game advantage.
The Camelot Kings are in a difficult position because they've already been 2-0'd once this tournament. Now they're going down 1-0. They have 2 more games to figure this out. What are they going to do to stop the rhythm of the Tartarus Titans? No one has been able to figure it out yet. Someone, it is time. The Camelot Kings go back to the drawing board.
Tartarus Titans started up strong. Can they keep that momentum, or can the Kings bring themselves their first win of the set? We'll find out all that and more right after this.
Hey, wait, what did it win?
You win the respect.
You're telling me an alien wore this?
Perfect. Okay.
Okay, that was a good cut.
Messaging him to mute.
The best graphics you really need, Ultra, of course, and I can probably watch a stream on the side.
Content's gonna look good.
Pretty good, pretty good.
One game up, and the Camelot Kings find themselves in an unfavorable position, but this is a best of 5. So there's still plenty of time for them to come back into this series using their Aurora Ryzen R10 PCs, top of the line, that we got from our wonderful partnership with Alienware, who are joining us here for Season 9 of Smite. Make sure that you go and check them out on Twitter and Instagram at Alienware, and that's at Alienware, not at Alienware, like alienwarearena.com, which is a different place that you can go for giveaways, product features, and more. And you know what more I want to talk about right now, Ro?
Smite gameplay.
Game 2 of Titans versus Kings.
It's going to be a competitive one. We saw a very competitive early game that Kings actually playing more aggressive, and I think that's a sign of Titans having a less aggressive early game team comp like what they played against in Dragons earlier. So Kings feeling a bit more confident in their early game prowess. They're able to get in some invades going. I believe they stole some purple buffs, some red buffs, and were pulling some gold furies as well. A small early game lead for them, but kind of nullified this first blood as well, which helped them. But Solo Troll, someone that got set off from the get-go, and getting an early kill on an Osiris, any warrior really, against a mage is going to spell a bad time for King. So he's able to snowball quite heavily. The only death he really took this game was when he was lazy backing around that Gold Fury, but otherwise, very effective play by him, and really is again, my MVP. Yesterday, he was my MVP for this team as well, so having a great tournament himself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We saw at the end there, too, the Kings kept trying to go on to SOT, and they just were not able to kill him. I don't believe he fell below half HP until after he was kicked under the Phoenix, and even then, he was still fine.
Yeah, that's right. When you have to, SOT's commanding so much attention, it just frees up all this space for a Jingwei. Cyclone's been able to find any auto attacks he wants on the enemy backline even, just because Solo Troll is making so much space for himself. Even finding a solo kill, almost soloing Captain Twig, but, helped out by Paul in the end. I think he probably would have caught him out and died anyway. But yeah, Solo Troll was the one that got these kills as well to push them so deep into this Phoenix, and all of a sudden they're ending the game at around the 30-minute mark, which is not something the Kings do.
Solo Troll really out here asking the question, or answering the question, I suppose, who needs Athena when you as a player are a taunt? Nobody on the Kings wanted anything to do with anyone else, and we're going to talk about Paul here as well, Ro. We mentioned, and he himself mentioned that he really enjoyed these mages. ESET, maybe one of the only players who wants to take it down mid in the current meta, and he just showed us why it's so good in his hands.
With a unique build as well, starting that Book of Thoth into the Sands of Time, maybe a normal mage build for there, but then a double stack into the Warlock Sash, so quite tanky. I believe he had an E-Staff in the end. He was going for Book of the Dead. He's going to end up having a timeline, so very, very tanky for a mid-mage that still does a lot of damage. All that mana results in a very big shield. He's getting Soul Eater, so he does a lot of damage to tanks. So really just a best of everything for that mid laner. It's a wonder why we haven't seen any other ESET play in the mid lane. We've seen a lot of it in support, and it hasn't been too hot, but ESET been a great pick for Paul yesterday and today so far.
Yeah, it's got to come down to just the amount of utility she's got, right? She's got a big stun from all the way down range with the Spirit Ball, but which in itself does a whole lot of damage. The Silence, which is, well, A, silence in an AoE, and B, as you mentioned, at the top of the game, a big prot shred, and then, of course, is that ultimate.
Yeah, a very, very well-rounded god. The only thing she's really missing is consistent damage, which the rest of the Titans team comp came in with. So Paul will be the objective secure and the kill secure and the utility setup, but the damage comes from the rest of the team comp. So very well, it's all by design by Titans and what they're picking, and it was actually very effective into what the Camelot Kings were forced to pick as well. Captain Twig on a Gilgamesh, and not last pick, but near the end, he was picking that Gilgamesh because he's kind of banned out. He didn't have too many options available to him. So intelligent stuff so far out of the Titans in the pick and ban phase.
We've got to see how the Kings are going to reply to that, but it's still pretty early doors, right? This isn't a best of 3 like we've been seeing, where we've been seeing that first game really meaning a lot. And in a best of 3, I would tend to agree with Mifflin. In that first game, really sets the pace. But here in these best of 5s, I'm more on Trelly's side. This has got to be a game 2 turnaround from the Kings if they don't want to let the Titans get too far ahead with that momentum.
Right now, we saw earlier Titans had the information from Kings because Kings had to beat Dragons first to get up to this point. Now Kings have a little bit more information on Titans, and they get to see the adjustments they've made overnight, and they get to make an adjustment of themselves. Leaving that Osiris open so far, but banning away the reset from Paul. Again, they'll take the Ula first pick. Something I'm not complaining about. It was very effective in their hands throughout today. It was still good that game, and we certainly don't want to let Titans have it either, so that's why they're taking it away for the first pick.
Will leave the Chernobog open, though, and this is a character that we've seen SOT put to just stellar use, and side by side with it is the Jingwei. Now, this one I'm not sure that the Kings are too worried about. Netroid was having a really good time against Cyclone on this pick.
But easily, these are the top 2 hunters in the game right now in this meta from what the teams have shown us so far. So to be able to take away both of them takes one of the top 2 away from Kings as well. So they have to drop down to something that's a lower priority pick. So Titans already building themselves a strong auto attack composition. Kings, a little bit more ability damage on their hand, but could easily go any direction from now.
Moving now on to that second kind of roundabout picks for the Kings. Looking to fill that one out. They've got a little bit of bank time here coming out, so I got to ask, the Kings have shown BMTs really effective on this Ula in the mid lane.
They have.
Now that the E-set's taken away, do you think the Titans are going to move into a similar situation or back to a mage?
Be sure to grab some
Paul can
brew.
kind of bring out anything. He loves playing Hell and stuff like that as well, so I think he's a bit of a question mark. Kings, however, pretty well identifying their draft so far. Again, going back to the Shubalonke, again going back to the Baron. I think the 4th Baron game Variety has played so far. None of his early games going great, but that's just a product of Baron's early game and his strong scaling. Once he gets to that end game, as long as he's relatively equal, he's going to be very, very strong. So it'd be interesting to see what Titans take into the Baron's Medi this time. Last time they took the Osiris and it ended up going great for them. So we'll see if maybe Kings can bend it away for them as well.
Basically the same thing on both sides of the boards here. The band's basically the exact same. One change, which is the E-set here instead of the Chernobog, which the Titans have adapted into their draft. The Kings are looking the exact same here so far. Clearly they're thinking that this top 3, not the issue. I can't say I disagree with them here. So where do you think the point is for Kings that should change from that last draft?
Osiris ban right now and here, as soon as possible, really. It clearly was a problem that last game, a Solo Troll being essentially unkillable, and he could just risk his life, even though it wasn't a very high risk, because he always had that Kepriol follow-up as well. I don't think he ever even often needed that Kepriol either. At the end game, we just saw him with the Boomba's Hammer pushing into Phoenix, into 2 carries, and didn't even need the Kepriol. So I think they should ban it away. Titans, again, take away the Humbats, was a great idea. It forces Twig back onto something more like Gilgamesh, if that's his style again. But I just can't imagine giving over this Osiris once again.
I will say, we've been seeing a lot of things like the Kali from Captain Twig so far this week, so I'm interested as to why he's not going into the Bakasura, the Set, other auto-attack based assassins that we've been seeing very much prevalence from this week.
It's just the level of scaling that each of these gods have. Both Loki and Kali very strong single target late game gods, and Humbat peaks around the same time as well. Nemesis also a strong late game god, so surprising to see them ban it away from Titans rather than maybe take it themselves. But Titans pick up a Fenrir, which is somewhat flexible as well. We talked about the Nemesis last game, that it could be played in solo or jungle. Fenrir is in the same camp as that because of Golden Blade. Kings now have a chance to take the Osiris for themselves, for example, which I wouldn't hate, but they are going to struggle against it if they let it go to the Titans again.
I'm not falling for this. Anubis hover. This is a tournament. This is some tournament meta. Every single time we have a LAN finals, someone's got to hover the Anubis, and I would very highly doubt this is actually going to be locked in for the Kings. But they are looking for that support and jungler position at this point in time, and Atlas hover, that could be interesting.
Unfortunately for them, Atlas is competitively banned right now due to a small bug, so it won't be an option. These 2 hovers, just a joke Kings are playing so far. They've probably chosen their gods already, are just talking strategy right now. They've got 50 seconds of bank time that they can use to their advantage. They can give themselves more time to plan and strategize accordingly.
Well, that's a shame for them. I thought Atlas would have been a really great pickup, but nonetheless, I'm sure that they can find something else. Or Ro, where do you think the Kings might be leaning for these 2 picks?
I was going to say the Fafnir, but it does struggle into the Fenrir at times. You get bit after you transform and basically just get blown up, although Fafnir does decent into Kepri. Kabrakan can be okay, but not really their style. Cleaner going to go to the jungle, I suppose, for Twig. So a lot of DPS, similar to the Loki and the Kali in terms of style, but away from teamfight. But we do see the Fafnir, which is a great pick, into the Kepri and Fenrir.
Okay, I want to try the Chair 2 brain real quick, all right? Here's my prediction. Ula jungle. and then the Cleo goes to the mid lane. Huh?
Potentially. I don't think Captain Twig is much of an Ula player himself. Then again, I didn't think Big Man Tings was either, but I do see him on the cleaner in the jungle. I think it's a just much better pick for the way they play in the terms of team fights and stuff like that. And Big Man Tings, he's seen great success so far on the Ula in the mid lane. He's getting a lot of pressure out of it. They're able to invade red buffs and stuff like that, but walking past the Zeus is a whole nother challenge.
Yeah, I got the worst angry eyes from JMac for suggesting that, so I'll back up from that one. BMT, sorry, not BMT, Paul, looking for the Zeus here. Now, this is something that fits Paul's playstyle perfectly, right? He loves these, not necessarily immobile, but slightly slower gods that don't have that necessary dedicated movement ability. The Zeus fits the pocket exactly, and it's going to do so much damage to Baron and Fafnir in these big immobile ults.
And during the interview earlier, you asked a good question about either of these mid laners, how they prefer the meta right now. Are they enjoying more hunters and assassins, or would they prefer the mages? And Paul said himself he prefers the mages. He likes that kind of god pool, and he's not swaying away from it either. He's still going to make these mages work in his own way. He came out with a unique ESET build that was very effective and showed that they could secure objectives no problem. And now he's going to the Zeus. I imagine he can make that one work too. You could Fenrir bite back into a Chain Lightning and stuff like that from the jungle setup, or maybe we see a Blink Khepri like we've seen Mike play as well. They've got great objective DPS, and then when anybody walks close, Khepri or Fenrir can set up for their carries.
It is a big change though, away from the very utilitous ESET with the silence, with the stun.
It is.
With that big team fight ultimate, and more importantly, I think on that, the objective secure. Zeus doesn't offer quite the same kind of things.
It's not quite the same, but he still has some of similar tools, so they'll be able to play the same play style, just different gods. The most different look we're going to see so far is the solo lane. We're going to see the Chernobog flying over to these early game fights if Kings want to invade these red and purple buffs again. So maybe they'll slow down a little bit on that front. We might get a quieter early game from the Kings this time around, and we'll go into a more even mid game.
Could be. The Kings definitely changed up their play style this last game. They were way more willing to go for that early based aggression. But will they be able to find a win against the Tartarus Titans here? Or will the Titans continue their undefeated streak?
Yeah, the Camelot Kings need to stop the momentum of the Titans here in game number 2 if they want to keep their chances alive in this best of 5 set. It's JMac and Trelly back one more time as we jump into game number 2. And Paul, going back with a pick that brought the Titans so much success in the early half of Phase 1, all the way back in Season 8 as well. Paul just going for a very comfortable pick here, Trelly.
And it looks like he's going to run back that same style of build, at least right now, starting that Book of Thoth. And maybe we'll see him double stack his way into that Book of the Dead once again. It was annoying to try and deal with, and doing so much damage as well. Not going to have the most success early, but given the way that the Tartarus Titans played that, I don't think they're too stressed about the early game. Same style of composition for the Camelot Kings, but not a tanky warrior in the jungle. This time, Captain Twig going to be on the Kleena, as the desk highlighted. Not something we see too much in the jungle. It's been more so just go into solo lane, get a lot of healing, and then rotate into these fights. Captain Twig still is going to have a lot of damage, but also going to be a lot squishier as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the solo lane as the most dominant one. We've seen a little bit of mid coming out of Paul and Benny Q when it comes to that god with the Kleena towards that lane. But now Captain Twig taking it back to kind of one of her original roles there in the jungle. So we'll see how that pans out. Plays a fair bit similar to gods like Kamazot. Just get in there, drop your whole kit, and drop a lot of damage.
Yeah, that seems to be the play style. Not the best telegraph ganks, but when you have something like variety on this bear and the CC is all there, and you really don't have to worry about it too much. This was the exact same style we saw last game, where right at level 2, Genetics jumps in, looks for a stun, Netroid dash in, look for some poison darts. Not going to find too much that time around. I think they learned their lessons. The Tartarus Titans are not going to let that one happen again. But Layers on this Fenrir, he's going to be going for the Golden Blade Star, just trying to run the farm as quickly as possible, but also has a lot of CC. Looking at the Camelot Kings, they have a lot of targets that don't really appreciate getting picked up. Genetics, for example, does not have the beats, but everyone else is going to make sure to have those cooldowns ready, because they really only have one beads burner unless Aurora is going to be looking for abducts. So it's up to Layers to get those beads down so he can get those Ragnaroks off and set up for his squad.
Genetics finds the leap and the stun on Cyclone. That'll put him a little bit lower in health bars. Netro continues to pump those autos up against them. I'm going to be keeping a big watch on Layers to see if he goes any kind of defensive items with this Fend, or if he goes a full glass cannon style. But I think you're right to maybe highlight the lack of beads by Genetics. to see if that could be a potential target for Layers to go for in this early game.
Yeah, the duo lane is pretty far back at the moment, so it would be kind of easy for Layers to pull someone into the tower range, but also Genetics has some wards ready, and I think as long as the Camelot Kings are very vocal about where everyone's at, we won't see too much action just yet. The blue buff will be spawning in right, though, and that's where my attention immediately turns to. When this blue buff is up, where are the junglers going to be at? Right now, Clean is in mid, and Layers is finally making his way over to that right lane.
We do see Captain Twig hovering around the right side. Could just go for a back harpy invade. Paul will get some good damage up against BMT. But yeah, Captain Twig's ignoring the back harpy camp, just going for a full speed invade. And Captain Twig can just walk himself towards the outside or just make a real quick back. Nobody's the wiser about that. I mean, he just got that for free.
Yeah, and Variety, since he has the Bumbas, he's able to clear his blue buff for free as well. Layers, unfortunately, he's going to be very sad once he turns the corner and realizes what happened. He even jumped too, poor guy. So now you have to realize that that speed buff's going to be on a timer. Will Captain Twig be able to say, hey, I know that Layers has to be waiting at the speed buff when it spawns in. We can use that to our advantage. There's going to be a Fenrir there. At this time, let's make sure we get pressure elsewhere.
Captain Twig getting back to base will pick up that charge Morningstar, so he can work towards his first full item very soon. We'll clear out his own back camps, and the level 5 race is on. Layers wants to get active on level 5 instantly for that Ragnarok, start burning those sets of beads, get those relics away. Captain Twig, in a similar sense, but no Aegises to be seen. It'll just be raw damage coming out of this Kleena.
Yeah, Kleena has a fair bit, but I want to see like a hi-rez build, and that's when Kleena is able to just start weaving her auto attacks into her kit. And that's when she's really going to start chunking with not much cooldown built just yet. Once Transcendence gets online, of course, and you get that stacked, you can get a lot more charges on your ultimate. You can sort of fire those off whenever you need to. But like I mentioned, the ganks are not going to be too great just yet. Variety is going to be taking a fair bit of damage here, but Captain Twig steps over a ward and is going to maybe wait around here, seeing if there's a possible gank.
Yeah, SOT going to stand his ground, not telegraphing that he's given away that there's a ward there, but just not backing himself off or not trying to get overly aggressive to give any kind of signals there. SOT has beads and has ultimate, so shouldn't be worried about Variety too much with that coffin.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see what Paul wants to do with this build. Does he go for the Sands of Time first, or does he go right into that Warlocks? But again, they're playing for the late game, so they don't really want to fight right now. Layers is getting a little bit aggressive. Looks like he might be trying to wrap around a Twig and BMT here, and Paul is going to do a fair bit of damage, but Twig set up a trap and was able to cover his back there. One of the more interesting things we never get to see with these solo lane cleanups is you can put those whales on the wall and just say, hey, if anyone walks by, we're going to know. Layers trips that, and now there's not any aggression going on, and it looks like Layers will finally get his speed buff, so Twig is not able to look at that either.
Yeah, not going to be able to grab the next spawn of it this time around, so Captain Twig will just have to live with the fact that he only gets the one speed buff, only able to get the stuff on his side of the map this time around. And speaking of, because there's been no real action just yet, the offering camps haven't spawned in, so there hasn't been any potential fight for some of these Trebuchet offerings. The gold sits dead even so far, 5 minutes in.
If you were curious, no one except for the jungles have backed right now. Variety hasn't bought anything. SOT hasn't bought anything. Cyclone just backed for the Dev Gauntlet, and at least Paul finished. But the duo lane has just been sitting there the whole time. Genetics is sitting onto his tier 1 cloak, probably looking for that Spirit Robe, and will back and get a full one. Netroid still sitting on probably a fair bit of gold. Wants that Transcendence, but can't buy it just yet. Needs about 2,000 gold, so sitting for 200 more. So that's the benefit of Jingwei, though. Cyclone's able to get full Dev Gauntlets and fly back in and not really miss a step.
Finally, 2 Transcendents do get picked up. Captain Twig and Big Man Tings on their backs. We'll be able to grab that. Netroid just a little bit further away, as you mentioned. Baron's Brew for everybody yet again, so on the topic of wards, as the late game comes through, imagine some of those will have to be sold. That way we can see both regular wards and sentries go up. At least for now, though, the Camelot Kings will be content with their farm. Oracle Harpies will go their way. And I'm just waiting for somebody to pull the trigger, Charlie, because neither of these teams are willing to jump the gun just yet.
I think this really does show exactly what we're talking about. Layers might be able to find something on a Variety, but he's more interested in stealing away that offering and running away. Game 2. The mental, the momentum of this whole set relies on who makes the first mistake. Just a first blood alone could change the tides of this whole set. So I think both teams playing this very smart. Obviously, Cyclone Spin was off to a bad start last game where he was a little bit behind in lane, so I don't expect to see him get too active on the map. Layers, maybe on this solo lane, can find something, but Captain Twig is always right behind. If Layers ever thinks he has an ult chance, it's never going to be there. BMT, though, also wrapping around, maybe trying to find something, but he's just going to leap away. No one wants to overcommit right now, except for Netroid, of course. He has no fear in this lane.
Nah, just sit at the tier 1 tower line. If nobody's going to stop me, then why should I need to worry about it? Now we're finally seeing Aurora start to take away some of these offerings. Give Genetics a taste of his own medicine at this point, because it really feels like Genetics is one of the only players in the league who are trying to go for these offering steals.
I taught him that.
Look, you know, I do remember you were telling me about the clock rotation, the clock-like style rotation of that one. But now will Aurora be able to make it out? He finds a root on Genetics. With no CC that comes from the Shubalanke, Aurora should be fine.
Yeah, when the old offerings were like that, Aurora said that when I, spoke about it on the cast and how it spawns, he learned something and he learned where they go, and now he's able to steal them away from Genetics. So I increased his brain knowledge. You might see an ultimate finally being used here, but it's just for a red buff invade.
Paul will have to walk away. Genetics uses the Draconic Transformation, but he gets pulled back, stunned down. Layers still has some good damage to throw back, but Aurora's the one who is low. A bite comes back to pull Genetics away from Aurora. Aurora should be able to find a way out. Netroid now half HP. SOT is rotated over. Cyclone Spin with the airstrike just off the mark, but one more auto will do it. Cyclone Spin comes up with first blood.
All of that for one kill onto the Jing Wei, but remember, he did have to rotate all the way in. SOT used his global ultimate to make sure he was here. Variety just had to walk. He walked the whole way over, got here a little bit late, and now is going to try to steal away some of the farm, maybe look for a back camp invade. Didn't have to use the coffin, so we'll still be holding on to that cooldown if anyone catches him out. Great rotation, though. The Tartarus Titans were defending their red buff, but because of the fact that SOT can get there whenever he needs to, Netroid gets a little bit poked out. The chase down was good, and honestly, usually I talk about how that first blood bounty is so good on the jungle, but you have a Jing Wei on your team. This is who you want to get online quick.
All under fire, no ultimate, and only a Scarab's Blessing to help him out. Paul will be able to get away with that extra bit of movement speed, that little cleanse to get him back to safety. Aurora coming in clutch to make sure the mid laner gets out.
And the Trebuchet will be running down mid lane as well, so BMT is going to have to deal with that. And I don't think it's going to do too much to the tower right now. It's just a little early on where every wave is so important. No one's really spending too much time out of lane, so I don't imagine they'll be getting too much. Maybe they just sent that out to add a little bit of pressure. Right now they are about 1,000 gold in the lead. The Tartarus Titans have been looking very solid defending their buffs, and Genetics might be taking a little bit of damage here.
Genetics does get pulled into one of the Trebuchet fireballs, but he'll be fine. Now with Big Man Ting's back, Trebuchet should go down pretty quickly. He might get a couple of shots on the tower before it goes down, or at least maybe just the one. Big Man Ting's taking a little while to pull those minions away. And now that the minions are gone, Trebuchet will not fire anymore. So, one value shot, at least on the tower.
That's all you need. That tower shot is going to become very useful. Layers is looking for Netroid, but not stepping out of this tower. He knows his beads are back up in 60 seconds, and he's saying, I'm going to sit here until my beads are back up. Maybe I'll lose some farm, but I will not lose my life and give another kill to this Jing Wei. BMT might take a little bit of damage, but right now Paul only has a half-stacked Book of Thoth and a Tier 2 Warlocks. He's not doing too much, even with a 3-charge detonate. I don't imagine they're looking to get any more aggressive. Unless the Camelot Kings try to invade a buff again, I think the Titans just back off until maybe another ult gets used, maybe another beads timer goes down.
So Paul is electing to go back to this double stacking build. Last time around it was Obsidian Shard, Soul Reaver, and I don't recall if we even got to see what his final item was before that game ended up.
It would have been Book of the Dead.
Yeah, most likely Book of the Dead. So a lot of power, a lot of HP, a lot of shield, a lot of mana, a lot of everything that Zeus wants to have in the middle of these engagements. Genetics pushes up towards the purple buff. Won't be able to find anything here, as there are 3 Titans standing by to make sure that that one does go to Cyclone.
I just had a memory recess in the back of my mind.
Oh,
that
no.
Cyclone has to use the ult to run away. Paul built the E set pretty similarly, and his last item was Polynomicon, so maybe it wasn't going to be that Book of the Dead. It's a 50-50 shot. It would have given him a big shield or big auto attack damage off of the stun, either one. Maybe we'll see. Maybe he goes for the Book of the Dead this time around because there's no real setup for a poly shot on the Zeus. Either way, this Gold Fury could be getting looked at here. Cyclone Spin's dashing in.
Cyclone went aggressive, does have airstrike. Both the supports trying to body block each other from getting back in the lane. Aurora will walk in. Netroid lost about half his health during that engagement. Aurora will find a pullback against Genetics. Knockup is good from the updraft. That's about all that there's going to be for follow-up. No other CC available to the Titans, but a dash back in will force Netro and Genetics to leap themselves away.
And that little bit of aggression should be enough to confirm this purple buff. At least Layers can hide out here, maybe, just maybe, find a Ragnarok. Genetics does not have beads, and he's going to get picked up.
Double stun from that leap does pull Genetics back in, and not enough mana for Genetics to get out. The Tartarus Titans pick up a second kill in the fight. Cyclone Spin dashed aggressively, but no further action, at
Right
least
to gold.
in the lane. The Pyromancer started up and taken by the Camelot Kings. Meanwhile, left side, the Tartarus Titans will go for the Gold Fury.
Yeah, BMT a little bit too far away, not going to be able to go for a hail of arrows. Steel, they saw how weak Netroid was. They got the pick on a Genetics. That's as free as a Gold Fury as they come. But the Camelot Kings knew that pretty much right away, and they said, hey, there's going to be at least 3 or 4 on that Gold Fury. We can go for the Pyromancer. SOT probably not going to try and steal that one away. So a solid consolation prize, not going to be too great. The Tartarus Titans are looking at about a 2K gold lead now. And another kill goes the way of Cyclone Spin. Just more gold going into this late game Hunter. This Jingwei is going to be critting so hard, even sooner now.
Yeah, and hitting level 12, so it's a relic online where Netroid only at level 11 will not have access to it. And you can see where a bit of that lead is coming from. Transcendence Atalantis Bow now finished up for Netroid. Meanwhile, Cyclone Spin is a little bit away, about 500 or so gold away from picking up the tier 3 of his next item, that Silver Branch Bow, the likely candidate for Cyclone.
Yeah, and the items are a little bit more expensive, and no Gilded Arrow. That's also going to be making sure that you get a little bit less gold every time if you're missing those procs. Cyclone has been able to be much more aggressive in this lane. Remember last game, he was just at the tower line, pretty spooked out. Layers is going to get absolutely chunked, but that's all of the kit of BMT and Genetics, so he will be able to back off just fine.
Paul and Aurora grouped up in mid. Genetics now joined by BMT. Genetics goes in, finds the stun against one. Beads and ult dropped by Paul up on only Captain Twig. Will take the brunt of the damage from there, but Genetics has leaped back under the tower. Stun is good against the Roar, but the Camelot Kings have pushed the support back. Scarab's Blessing still around his belt, but the tier 1 tower will be taken down. Camelot Kings find a nice early tower kill.
All 5 have rotated in here. Variety wanted to make sure, just in case they could pull someone back in. Paul just immediately beats and drops the Lightning Storm, and after that, the fight's really over. Layers got poked out well before it started, and SOT said, I'm not going to rotate. I'm simply going to get farm. Level 15 is this Chernobog to the level 14 Baron Samedi, and more free farm to come. I imagine SOT is going to be able to rotate much more freely now as Captain Twig tries to rotate over and find some sort of poke, but with the Dev Gauntlets, should be healing up pretty freely.
The unfortunate part about running these Hunters in the solo lane is most of your sustain is going to come from your auto attacks. When it comes to the actual immediate brawling, unless you're landing those autos, probably going to be losing out on a lot of your HP. Meanwhile, Variety's got some defense stacked to his name, got a lot of HP stacked to his name, and going to be even more once that Ethereal Staff gets finished up.
Yeah, Genetics didn't go for the Gem of Iso this time, just went for the Spirit Robe right into Witchblade, trying to be as tanky as possible. I think just recognizing that he didn't start the beads, he wants to go for the sprint and the Frenzy Pop, and there's a Fenrir now. So if he does get picked up, he wants that CC, those mitigations from the Spirit Robe, and he wants everyone to be attacking a little bit slower when he's in the dog's mouth. Right now, he's just going to back off, though. No real aggression being looked at from anyone because there's no real neutral objective. Pyromancer is still a ways off. Gold Fury, about 2 minutes, and no one is feeling confident enough to pull that Fire Giant.
No, I don't imagine anybody will, at least for probably the next 5 or so minutes, unless you can find a massive team fight and walk away with pretty much 3 or 4 fully healthy players. SOT level 15 picks up a 3rd item, Deathbringer, so he wants those crits online a little bit sooner and for them to hurt just a little bit more.
He wants to bring some death is what it looks like.
True.
And he will be able to because he's level 16 now. Just watching the farm go up. That is sort of how farming works. Genetics gets immediately picked up.
Dropped into the Lightning Storm. Genetics has a leap to find his way right back out. A root is good. SOT has joined the party. Genetics stunned out. Has a Draconic Form. Will finally use it. Surrounded by 4. But Captain Twig's had a lot of damage up against Layers. The Lightning will bounce between Genetics. One more hit is all that's needed, and Cyclone Spin's going to be the one to do it.
Cyclone Spin on a killing spree. 3 kills to his name now, and it looks like they're trying to find something under this tier 1 tower. The Tartarus Titans, though, don't have any more ults to try and chase this one down. Just the Scarab's Blessing, but the tower is on the menu.
Tier 1 tower won't go down. A lot of damage up against Cyclone Spin. The Coffin will not pull in the Jingwei. and it will not pull an SOT. He'll use the Aegis to get away and try and bide some extra time. The Scarab's Blessing will make sure that he's got a path on out.
That was such a sick play. No way BMT can chase this one down. SOT realizes they're not going to try to kill him because he has that Scarab's Blessing, so he just completely turns on the Netroid and says, box me, bro. Either kill me or I'm going to kill you. So they're forced to pop that Scarab's Blessing early and send him back to his squad. If they let that peter out and try to finish the kill, Netroid dies there 100% of the time.
Captain Twig will grab an offering as well as the enemy Scorpion camp. And Captain Twig has been able to put up some decent damage in the midst of these fights up against this more melee-oriented draft and at least that core 3v3. But Paul is really going to start hitting hard now that Warlock Staff is online. Hasn't gotten the stacks just quite yet, but working towards that Obsidian Shard already.
He never gets it stacked quickly, unfortunately. He's not playing those Baba Yagas. Aurora could be in some trouble here. BMT jumps in a lot of damage.
Heal is going to be good. Aurora rooted in place. Doesn't have the Scarab's Blessing this time around. Big Man Tings will finally put the Camelot Kings on the board here in Game 2.
Big Man Tings doing big man things, making sure to get a lot of damage onto Aurora. Pyromancer spawned in, but if they do go for that, I think they realize there's a lot of pressure on the left side of the map. Oni Fury has spawned in as well. So the Camelot Kings, with that pick, I don't think they're going to focus on the right side. I think they're going to look at this left side of the map. Variety doesn't have teleport, so he'd have to walk the whole way over here. So the Oni Fury will be safe for now.
Netroid groups up with Genetics towards the left tower. Not sure they'll be able to take that without a minion wave to their name. And the Fire Giant will at least be dewarded, so the Kings have some vision control in that pit. Paul, level 15 on the Zeus. Still waiting until that Obsidian Shard comes out, while the extra % pen will be helpful up against Genetics and Variety. The carry's not going to be too distraught by that. It's just the raw power that this item gives will be a big power spike for Paul.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that the Camelot Kings didn't try to pull anything there. With Aurora being gone, you don't have to worry about Scarab's Blessing. You essentially get to actually kill someone that you're focusing on, but both of these objectives are going to take a little bit too long to do. SOT, though, is a hunter with an Envenom Deathbringer at 18 minutes into the game, so he should be able to solo this away. Captain Twig, though, has some steal potential.
Does. Pyromancer, just like that. Captain Twig scares him away. He had the damage on it, so at least back to him. And he grabs that for the Camelot Kings. That'll at least slow down some of the gold lead that the Tartarus Titans had built up early on. As now the Camelot Kings group up left side. The Oni Fury is up. But doesn't seem like either team really want to pull it just yet. Maybe bait somebody in before they grab it.
Yeah, Layers is going back to his speed buff. If you look at Captain Twig, he's farming over here as well. But my biggest red flag is that Variety is here and he's heading towards this Fury. Genetics goes up into the Dragon. They're just going to pull this. They're going to 50-50.
We'll go right away. Captain Twig drops one ultimate. The Oni Fury going down fast. The lights have been turned out. And Aurora Cyclone Spin will be here. The Camelot Kings get the Oni Fury and the sprint right after to make sure that they've got an escape out. But how far and how fast can they travel? Layers and Aurora seeking them out, but will not find anybody. Variety sitting around the corner, but all that while, SOT split pushing the right lane.
Yeah, this should be pretty close, but not wanting to fight into BMT after the fact. You essentially just have to sit there and stall while your team comes in. The Tier 1 tower, though, will be a decent prize for the Tartarus Titans as they just lost that Fury. They're going to have to deal with Oni minions now, and that's going to be pushing down both sides. Maybe the Tartarus Titans try to get a little bit aggressive with someone in that left lane. Maybe they try to pull this Fire Giant. They have 2 ADCs with a fair bit of crit online. It would go down quite quickly because the Camelot Kings just used a lot to make sure that Gold Fury went down.
Genetics not going with a Frenzy, instead a fully upgraded Bracer. That'll give him a little bit of extra vision control in that way, and should now see that the Titans have started the Fire Giant. Captain Twig and Variety on the backside of the wall. Captain Twig waiting inside the wall. Silence finds a few different players. The Fire Giant is being 50-50'd by the Titans. They will grab it, but Aurora should go down. The Scarab's Blessing delaying his life just a little bit longer. Stunned out by the coffin, but not enough damage in return. Aurora finally goes down. Big Man Tings credited to the kill. SOT trying to fight back as Paul grabs Variety. It's a 1-for-1. SOT in the air. SOT back down. The root is good to hold Genetics in place.
Paul does massive damage with that chain lighting, and now SOT's looking for the steal. I think Layers has the damage to survive.
That Genetics does close out the kill. Now it's 2-for-2 between the two teams. Genetics transforming in will group back up with Big Man Tings as Captain Twig too low to keep the fight going. SOT and Paul, though, they want to keep this chase.
Genetics is about to de-transform, but there will be no more to chase. That Tier 2 tower in right is very weak, and it looks like maybe the Tartarus Titans are going to go for it. Cyclone knows that Genetics is about to transform down, though, looking for BMT.
What? Cyclone going for the 1v3 now because Big Man Tings is here. Beans is going to be good. Cyclone Spin finds the kill amongst all of them. Genetics should go down a good leap, but SOT gets stunned before he can get the dash out, so the support makes it out. But what a wild boost of confidence for Cyclone Spin as he goes in again, finds all three, and Cyclone Spin finds the double!
Remember when I said Cyclone Spin was on a killing spree and got all the gold and got his crit online? This is what it's for. No one can out-damage Jingwei right now. 5-0 with the Deathbringer, pop explosive bolts. You're critting almost every single auto attack. That's where that confidence comes from, and that's why Cyclone Spin is invading red buff by himself versus 3.
Jingwei doesn't want to be an aggressive hunter. She wants to sit back and passively farm. I've heard that line one too many times to see what Cyclone Spin is doing on this god. This man is a menace in this duo lane. 5-0, takes down the tier 1 tower, now pushing down tier 2.
Just so much damage coming out from him, and Paul as well. It was a massive chain lightning that was able to make sure that fight didn't go completely one-sided. Well,
turnaround kill, nice easy few autos. Cyclone does not miss a single one in that engagement. He'll be able to keep his chase up. Almost picks up a triple by grabbing genetics there, but the level of confidence on Cyclone Spin is immaculate to be able to make this kind of a dive. As you do see in the lower right, though, Variety getting low, should go down, and he will. SOT picks up that kill in the midst of the fight.
Yeah, trying to get your blue buff this late into the game, not going to be the play. Variety going to be in the grayscale for about 45 seconds. Cyclone, he's trying to do it again. He doesn't care about BFT, and they're going to take this one.
Oh, the Axos misses. You're not going to win the crit battle against Cyclone Spin. All 4 land, and Cyclone finds another one. 6-0 now for the Jingwei.
Cyclone Spin he's not popping off in the player camp. This just looks like another day at the office for him. He's like, yeah, I'm Jingwei, I'm critting, I'm going to dash in. Who's going to stop me? And he's going to continuously do that unless someone can stop him. Right now, Captain Twig, level 16, he's not going to be the one. He has 3 items. You can't fight against a full build Jingwei.
No towers left standing for the Tartarus Titans to have to knock down. Now it's only the Phoenixes. A root in the back line, just up the mark. And Cyclone Spin goes in again. Airstrike to aggressively pat towards Captain Twig. But Twig's got the blink to get out. Instead, Cyclone will go ahead and take away the trebuchet that the Kings had stored up earlier.
SOT is going to make sure to get down this right Phoenix as the mid.
He just did it. He's just doing it. And Cyclone is just walking across their base and picking off everybody. Now, the Camelot Kings are down 2 players and 2 Phoenixes.
He just is simply killing everyone and everything. Anyone who's near this Jingwei, I'm just going to count them as a death, and I will credit him another kill. Right now he's 7-0, and I see 8-0, it's genetics. I see 9-0, it's big man things. I'm waiting for them to just feed him another.
Tartarus Titans will take their 2 kills, take their 3 Phoenixes, and will now retreat back. Cyclone Spin, with a little bit of help, should be able to take down this Gold Fury, and look at the spike that's gone down towards the Tartarus Titans. 9,000 gold, 10,000 XP. The Chaos team has up.
And now all 3 Phoenixes are down. Not very many times has any pro team ever come back from a situation like this. It does happen, but it's very rare. You want to look at some high points here. It looks like Variety does take over level 20 and get that Bumbus Hammer. He has Spectral Armor as well, so that's going to be a decent answer to the damage that Cyclone Spin has. He has a fair bit of CC. Maybe if you can just get Variety to Cyclone and say you're not allowed to free cast anymore, it'd open up a lot of ways for the DPS of the Camelot Kings to perform. But the levels are the biggest issue right now. Again, Captain Twig is still only level 16, 24 minutes into the game. This Kleena has been vastly useless since the early portion of the game where he was able to find those ganks.
I want to point out that Cyclone Spin only had 4 items and a tier 1 starter and did all of that. Now he has gone back and upgraded his starter and picked up a full dominance. He was already, 3-4 tapping everybody. That's going to go down to like maybe a 2 or 3 tap at this point.
Yeah, he's definitely going, he's not going to care. That's what I'm saying. There's no one on the Camelot Kings that can deal that amount of damage. With the way the Netroid's built, he'll be able to answer back some of those crits, but he's not attacking as quickly and his damage isn't as much, so... And he's not going to be critting as often. All of that is going to be like, do you want to outbox a Jingwei right now? Someone's got to do it. Who on the Camelot Kings is up against the task? Right now, Cyclone Spin is the heavyweight champion of the world, and we're looking at some lightweights that cannot pump out those numbers.
Fire Giant will go down, and we get a nice little hover to see that the extra 20% crit chance when that ability is active gives Jingwei just an extra little boost that none of the other competition does have. And even that Persistent Gust giving us so much extra attack speed and all this extra damage that it just does alone. I mean, Cyclone Spin, there's got to be a lot thrown to him to kill this man.
Oh, yeah, I would say so. And right now he's just dashing in, and oh my goodness.
Oh my god, that was 850 he just did to Big Man Tinks, who's now going to have to go back to the fountain to re-heal all of that. Variety low, Variety picked up. Netroid trying to get away. Is the detonate there? No, not in time. The Aegis and the fountain will make sure that Netroid and Big Man Tinks live through that fight. The Tartarus Titans grouped up only as 4 because one had to go back to base. So no further push to the throne room.
I thought SOT might ult in here, but they are going to hold the brakes a bit. It's still 25 minutes. Even with 3 Phoenixes down, it's still a little bit early to try and go for the end up against 5. Once a pick comes through, you can start whittling down, just focusing your CC, and the Titan gets much easier to kill. But again, Variety has a fair bit of cooldown here. You get 2 life of the parties off in one fight. Even a team this far ahead will start to falter a little bit. So now the Titans just have time to recollect their thoughts. How are they going to go in for this? What are they going to be looking for? Roar is going to look for a root, and then Layers goes in.
Layers does find the stun. Cyclone Spin finds a couple of crits up against Netroid. Very low on the Shibalanke, but he will find his way out. The Titan under fire by the Tartarus Titans, transform out of genetics, but it's the leap away. The Coffin will pull in a Roar, and the Titans will take down the Kings yet again and extend their lead to 2-0 in the set.
Would you believe that with every bit of damage we saw from Cyclone Spin, Paul still did 4,000 more? That's just showing how much AoE teamfight presence the Tartarus Titans had. We walked in, saw a crit for 800. Paul was still doing more than that. That's an insane amount of damage coming out of the Tartarus Titans. They all look like a well-oiled machine, letting Cyclone Spin get those last hits. Maybe he stole a few, maybe he confirmed a few, doesn't matter. All that gold went to making sure that he could get ahead, and no one could stand in his way.
Okay, so I'm going to give you another checklist here.
Ban Jingwei.
No, take Jingwei if you're first pick for the Kings.
Right.
If you're not, probably ban it. And if you are going to leave it up and you're not going to take it, I don't know if giving both Jingwei and Chernobog is the right answer.
I don't have the answer for you. The Camelot Kings, though, they're the ones who are going to have to find it.
Yeah, they're going to have to answer that question. We'll come back with game number 3 right after this break.
2 games down, 1 left to find for the Tartarus Titans. But before we get into that last game, I'd like to give a shout out once again to Prime Gaming for being the title sponsor of the SPL this year. And you just saw there the kind of games that you could pick up this month and make sure that you get the most out of your membership by getting all the exclusive content that Prime Gaming has to offer. And if you're not already on the Prime Gamers list, now might be the time to become one, because you can get free Twitch subs every month, free games, Amazon delivery for free, and just like Cyclone Spin, free game content. And the free game content that Cyclone Spin redeemed that last game was literally infinite kills.
It was. Free kills, infinite crits, I would say, and that equals kills most of the time. Jingwei being the highest critting god, or the most, has crit in her kit, put it that way. And building a lot of crit with these meta hunter builds, you end up with a lot of kills and a lot of damage as well. Top of the damage charts for Jingwei as well, I think, which is kind of nuts for a Jingwei. A relatively single target god compared to something like a Zeus, which we would have expected to see at the top of the charts. So this one, off the back of an early invade or an invade attempt from the Kings, and they kind of start to back out, but they leave Netroid kind of in the dust. So a good start for Cyclone Spin to get kickstart a great game by him.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how insane Cyclone got here towards the end. It started off very slow. Cyclone has almost been quite quiet throughout the rest of this set, throughout even yesterday. Cyclone felt pretty quiet compared to the other side laner. SOT really took the spotlight. But this time around, after about the 20-minute mark, I think every kill was set up by Cyclone Spin jumping into a fight.
And this one, you can't actually see the map, but he's dashing in 1v3, by the way. Eventually, Solo Troll comes back as well, but Cyclone Spin fully confident to dash in there, and then he chases down Captain Twig here as well. Twig can't quite get in the wall yet. He actually turns around to try to fight Spin, but absolutely no chance. 650 crit 3 times in a row, which is not... He's not rolling high, really. He has that crit chance, and those last kills give him the confidence to do this as well. I believe there's another 3-shot, I might argue.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, I think 4. It's 4 shots
but an overkill
to kill.
For sure.
And then look at that, clears 1 camp back to full health. And then I think you pointed this out to me, he just kills the Trebuchet before it's even activated. Cyclone just absolutely tearing through the Kings this game. And I think that's the story of this game, right? It's one misstep from the Kings, and normally they're able to make those small missteps and then come back into them later. But Cyclone Spin just... He popped off. You can't say anything else about it.
And when you get that big of a lead on Cyclone Spin, he just did what is most important. Don't give the enemy team any room to breathe whatsoever. So just continue to push your lead, dash into them, look for the solo kills. And by the way, he was looking for solo kills last game as well. I believe Paul ended up coming and cleaning up the Gilgamesh. He was 1v1ing Twig in that instance, and he was able to almost find that solo kill there as well. So 2 great games from him as well. We're seeing 2 hunters this game, well, the last game from the Titans. They had the Chernobog in the solo lane, the Jingwei in the dual lane, easily, in my opinion, and probably many others' opinion out there, the top 2 hunters in this meta right now. So I think Solo Troll, a lot of credit for the first game, but deserves some credit for this game, and credit for the whole tournament, really. He's been a solo laner that has played every style under the book. He's played the Amaterasu, he's played the aggressive Ula, he's played the traditional aggressive Osiris, and then he's played this Chernobog, which, maybe he didn't see too much action in the early game in this last game, but the important part is he's taken away from Kings. So Kings, after being down 2-0, opt to take the second pick, and now they get to change up their drafts and they get to change up their band. So maybe they expect Titans to maybe take the Ula for first pick, and this time Kings will flip the script and take the Chernobog and Jingwei for themselves, perhaps. But no, Kings banning away the Ula. So one of these other 2 hunters open, I imagine, will be the first pick, and I guess I'll pick on the other side as well.
Meanwhile, the Titans, they don't want to change their draft at all so far, banning away the same things they have the last 3 games. Kings are only making this Auto adjustment, the Capri and the Mercury, still the same from last time. Straight away, Titans go for the Cherno for SOT.
Almost surprising based on how good of a game Cyclone Spin just had on that Jingwei, but Chernobog, in my opinion, the superior hunter. It is close between Chernobog and Jingwei in this meta, but Chernobog superior because of that global pressure you can get for your team, and also still having the late game prowess of a typical hunter in this meta. So I imagine Kings will take the Jingwei. I am right. They don't want to play against that again, especially not in combination with the Chernobog. So now it evens out a little bit. I felt like Kings, at this point of the last draft, were very much at a deficit, but this time really bolstering their late game defenses back on the Nuwa. Interesting.
I don't dislike this pick. It is very early for a Nuwa pick that realistically the Titans were not going to ban. So I think this could be a little bit too soon on the tip of the hand from the Kings. But I'm interested to see what they're going to build around it.
There is logic to it, especially now that we see this Apollo pick, sorry. So Chernobog and Apollo diving into the enemy backline. Jingwei and Nuwa, very, very safe backline gods, so it's difficult to get on them, it's difficult to kill them. But there's Oleron on the other hand, that is a team fight god, so we're going to see, I would argue, Apollo in the duo lane for Cycling Spin, Chernobog for Solo Troll, and then Oleron in the
The Vamana being picked up straight away. I was about to say it. Yep. I know you can't verify this, but in my brain I was like, oh, I wonder if they're gonna pick up the Vamana in response. We saw there the Oleron with an 82% win rate. One of the few things that's been able to consistently pick out and counter this character is the Vamana, and Twig has shown us he's good on this.
Yeah, Vamana typically a very good hard counter to Oleron, and then he also is a soft counter into any other hunter. Vamana gets power by building physical defense, very good, into Chernobog and Apollo, and generally his ult will last longer the more auto attacks he takes as well, so good into those gods
Also attack speed reduction.
That's right, so, and he'll be able to chase them down relatively easy. Maybe Chernobog might be able to escape because he dashes into walls or flies up into the air, something that Vamana cannot follow, but he will be able to chase down this Apollo as long as he gets his ultimate off before that mez, and he obviously will be able to chase down this Oleron. Now we need Kings to help him out a little bit more. We saw the last time they played Vamana, they picked Capri with it. This game it is banned away by themselves, so they may look towards maybe a Fafnir again. It wasn't bad last game, even though they did get kind of stomped out in the end. Fafnir does synergize decently well with Vamana, and if they can give him a sprint or something, that'll help too.
But the Fafnir hasn't really worked out for them in this set so far. Last game, as you highlighted when we were in picks and bans, Fafnir really got pressured out. There was a lot to counter out genetics on that character. Although that being said, not quite as much this time around, especially if we're theorizing this Apollo might be not in that ADC role. We could see a Johnny callback and see this Apollo placed in the jungle.
I think Horus support, sorry, so kind of genetics going back to the basics, back to his fundamentals. He really, really enjoys this macro playstyle, and that's what Horus is best at. He can fly around the map, make these calls, so they looks like they want to get active early. They have been getting more active early in this set compared to the last. We're invading buffs and things like that. So Horus a little better at that, but I don't know how good it is in this current meta, but it doesn't matter anyway, right? Because Khepri is taken away, Ymir and Yamoja taken away, so they have limited options regardless. Horus is quite good at picking a front line. He'll stun them and then knock them up, and during that time they're taking all the damage from the King's backline. But Kumbhakana, not a god that really cares about being locked down either.
I do want to point out the view we just got in now, the King's booth. They are not downtrodden. They're looking pretty happy, having a laugh there. So hopefully in high spirits, the Camelot Kings are definitely not out of this. They have still some wiggle room. They have the potential to get the reverse sweep. They do need to win the next 3 games, but taking it one at a time, letting the Titans get the Nemesis, and potentially hovering this Habwa for themselves. Maybe the Ratatoska. This could be a variety special.
It could be, yeah. When I coached variety on Renegades, we brought out that Ratatoska, and it ended up being decent. We had a lot of good scrims with it, but not a lot of success and competitive with it. So I would be surprised to see him bring it out. But we are seeing a lot of smiles in the King's booth, and they're a team that likes to have fun. Even Genetics tweeting last night that he was just needed to beat the Dragons in order to lose to the Titans. So they were kind of joking about it, but even expecting to lose to the Titans here. Now we're going to see an AMC solo perhaps into a Chernobog solo lane.
I'll be honest, I was excited to see the potential Ratatoska. I think it has some utility into these auto attackers, but the Kings, they are still wanting to play this kind of, I would say traditional, but traditional for masters is the better operative term there. Although in fairness, the Kings could play these next couple games, you know, assuming they win this next one, as a series of best of ones. Because in reality, that's what they've got. So pulling out something a little bit more janky could have been the answer.
They could, and if they want to go janky, they have the opportunity as well. I know Genetics to play Nuwa support. I imagine we could see a horror solo from Variety here, although the Golden Blade not working as well. So if they wanted to get really janky, it is available to them, but I imagine it will just be a double hunter in that long lane against a lot of auto attack damage on the side of the Titans, and then a decent setup. A very Dragons-esque comp on the side of Titans, where they're just looking to get a pick or get a lockdown on one front line that they see, and then all of the backline follows up with their damage.
And there's a lot of space control there to allow them to do
Olaron,
that,
yeah.
right? I mean, we don't even need to look at Kumbhakana's CC because that's really the
Saying
main
something, yeah.
secondary point. But Olaron, Sanctified Fields, how many times do we have to say it up here, is uncontested the best space control ultimate in the game.
That's right, but they are going to need something to peel off this Vamana. He will ignore that Olaron ultimate, so he will be able to chase them down. But Nemesis ult, a great thing to counter the Vamana. If Vamana's running in and you just Nemesis ult him, he's going to be turned on quite quickly. They have a lot of damage on the side of Titans. The Chernobog, Apollo, and Olaron. If they all auto-attack Vamana at once, yes, his ultimate will last longer, but I don't think his life will last much longer anyway because he will take a lot of damage.
That being said, there isn't a whole lot to apply anti-heal on the Titans. Surely they can make use of a Toxic Blade, but that doesn't stack
Just
in of
slam an Unk.
itself.
Just pick up an Unk and it'll be fine for them, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's obviously the operative term, but
Not until level 12.
Think about it. Vamana's ultimate's going to come on cooldown before that Unk comes back, so you have that wiggle room between there. So, you know, excluding Toxic Blade that could be picked up by 4 out of 5 of the characters here, there isn't too much in terms of anti-heal application that's easy.
It's true, but yeah, like I said, they do have that Nemesis ultimate option, so they could use that to quickly blow him up rather, and then, don't laugh at that, and then he should melt fairly quickly inside of that Olaron ult.
I didn't laugh. I don't know what you're talking about. There's nothing funny about what was just said. Ro, I'll ask you the same question I asked you last time. Take away the
let's see.
names, look at the picks.
I've got to give it to the Titans. They're just on such a roll right now. They have the momentum.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, will the Kings be able to take back their throne, or will Camelot burn to ash? Game number 3 coming up.
It's a big one for the Camelot Kings. They are one game from losing in the Smite Masters, the Tartarus Titans. That same one game from taking it all and clean sweeping their way through these last 2 days of play. The Camelot Kings have got to find some kind of answer to slow down the Titans, and their answer to that was to draft a very similar composition, Trelly.
Yeah, when the going got tough, Captain Twig whipped out Vamana, and it's going to be against this Olaron, which again has a pretty solid matchup. If you're able to get that ultimate on top of Olaron, there's not enough peel in the world, and you essentially have to run away or turn and fight. Early on in the game, you can't turn and fight. You're simply not out DPSing that. You need to get some anti-heal, I imagine. One of these ADCs needs a Shadow Steel Shuriken. One of these ADCs needs to get a Toxic Blade, maybe Paul, and just try and be as fast as possible. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some movement speed built from this Olaron, but that's essentially Captain Twig's job right now. If you can keep Paul in check, their early game's looking pretty solid.
And it's kind of wild for how much Olaron we did see, you know, early on into the tournament as we started getting into the early days of this week. But it wasn't until Kirmi came out, and it really wasn't even against an Olaron specifically. It was up against gods like Artemis, that we're finally seeing this kind of a counter matchup to play. We saw some success out of the Vamana and Captain Twig prior. You think he can find that here in this matchup too?
I certainly think it's possible, and it's going to be the same exact aggression we see at level 2 here from Genetics and Netroid. This time, the Jingwei on the other side, and Cyclone Spin is going to be matching that pressure with these Apollo auto attacks. But, you know, one counter that used to be a thing to the Olaron is, you know, big CC immune ultimates that you can essentially just attack through. Cthulhu used to be a solid answer back. Not going to be so much prioritized in this meta. Usually you're not seeing anything like that in the solo lane, so right now we're just looking at Captain Twig, and will he be able to blink onto Paul once he gets that ultimate and actually stick to him. Layers, though, as Ro highlighted, Layers has a lot of ways to help out his mid laner, saying, hey, like maybe I'll get a Brawlers, maybe I'll get a Toxic Blade. Either way, if I ult, Vamana's going to be taking significantly more damage, and we can deal with that ultimate as quickly as possible. But BMT is going to be on this Nuwa, and it looks like he's starting to go for the Warlock Sash as well. Could go for an E-Staff also, just trying to get some easy procs, but I think Warlock's just so strong right now, and with Nuwa specifically, you want to try and survive. You have to get very close to get the full burst of your damage off.
And we've seen a different, you know, variety of these Nuwa builds. You can typically get some of the flat pen, some full power, but one build that kind of became popular with Zeros was getting a lot of these like on-hit style of items, things like Ethereal Staff, Soul Reaver, Soul Gem. You imagine that BMT takes a similar route in this game?
Well, since he went Sands of Time, you know, my mind immediately says no. Conduit Gem, usually the start if you want to go for like Soul Gem, Soul Reaver. Rob Tahuti is going to help your damage with your ult kill as well, all of those things. But I wouldn't hate just a few of them. With the Sands of Time build and some stacking, Nuwa's Burst is going to be pretty nuts no matter how you're able to build, as long as you're getting to, level 20 full build status. I think 3-4 items is when that ult actually starts doing things. Right now, it's more so vision, and maybe you're getting some assists as your team get kills across the map.
Genetics was being a bit annoying in the dual lane over there, healing up the minions as Horus is so apt to be able to do. Will be a purple buff secured the side of the Camelot Kings. Been noticing a lot of the supports holding on to Hog for that second spawn in the camp, maybe even beyond here. Roar still actually keeping track of his. It's something we don't get to see often, a Hunter versus Hunter match in the solo lane. SOT and Variety up on these two gods.
Yeah, SOT should be losing this, and is, as Netrioid gets a kill onto Cyclone Spin. He must, yeah, his beads are down, so, actually he didn't, he held on to the beads, so Netroid just must have got so much damage off in that lane, because Aurora is sort of in the back. He wasn't even in position to try and body block any autos, so that's going to be a massive swing. We saw what Jing Wei with an early kill can do last game, and now Netroid said, I'm not going to let you do that to me. I'm going to get online right now and get lots of crits coming your way.
And it was something that, we brushed on at the end of the game, something that the desk talked about was that if you are getting first pick, if you're the Camelot Kings in that case, you do not want to give away Jing Wei over to Cyclone Spin again. And also you don't want to give it away with Chernobog at the same time. We do get a first look back at what happened. Cyclone Spin just holding on to his relics over everything else and just eats crit after, or I can't even say crit after crit after crit, because it was just kills. Meanwhile, Captain Twig dies Paul in the mid lane, as the Vamanas can do. Captain Twig will be able to find a path out thanks to big man Tings. Even with SOT's rotation, it's not enough for the Titans.
Yeah, even with Paul dropping Sanctified Field, not going to be fast enough to run away from the Golden Blade Vamana. So now Twig is doing his job, and Netroid has a kill on Jing Wei. Things are looking very solid here for the Camelot Kings. They already have like a pretty good late game, but their early game going this well is going to be a big plus. Variety is going to take away that blue buff, and Layers is trying to get some damage, but Twig will be enough to say, you can't chase us down.
Yeah, the honey as well, just to slow down any attempt that Layers would want to go through. And luckily for us, as we come out of one kill, we get to go right into another one as Captain Twig just makes an easy rotation over to Paul, drops the full kick combo, and right up into that Colossal form. And that's an easy kill for Captain Twig to chase down under that tower. A little bit of help from big man Tings to make sure it goes down quicker.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. He got that assist. He wasn't there, but he was like, you know what? I'm going to make sure to get this ult off just so I can get some extra gold. As long as you don't need it for safety, you should be just fine in that regard. Layers has not been able to get active right now on the map. There's really nowhere to look at right now. Mid lane is losing because Captain Twig found the gank. Left lane is certainly losing because Netroid got that solo kill and Cyclone was able to be pushed back. Variety could be a solid gank here, but look at that relic slot. There's no beads, there's no Aegis, there's no teleport. That's a sprint. That's essentially a get out of jail free card whenever Layers comes around. That slow comes through, you zoom on out of there. Unless SOT is able to hit that confirmed route, really not much chase going to be had in that lane.
We'll see SOT push up a wave into the tower. Still a little bit behind in XP compared to Variety, even despite the rotation he made over towards that mid lane. Variety got to sit back, steal away a blue buff, and get a little bit of extra XP to himself. Transcendence picked up for Variety in the solo lane compared to the Devourer's Gauntlets. Paul in danger, stunned out, has to use the beads and the ultimate. Captain Twig will just bat away at Layers instead. Layers has not left the Sanctified Field, but now will do so once it fades away. Captain Twig once again forcing 2 ultimates.
Yeah, but BMT did ult there as well, and Paul gets to live to see another day. That's the real plus towards that engagement. Captain Twig will be able to steal a good bit of Layers' farm away, and that's going to be the only real net win we see here. Obviously, you're getting Paul's relic, you're getting Aurora's relic, and Layers' relic. That's going to be pretty massive. Sanctified Field is now down, so Captain Twig probably going to spend another gank towards that mid lane. Blue buff, though, is being looked at.
There's 3 from the Kings here to try and stop this one out. Stinger even expended, and it's not going to be enough. The blue buff secured by the Titans. Aurora rotating over, won't find a route onto anybody. SOT dives back in with his ultimate to keep the fight going, but he misses the route after, and the sprint from Variety will make sure that this team can get out.
Yeah, just a sprint enough to say, hey, even though the slow from the Chernobog ult comes in, we're not going to be able too far out of position. Aurora just ulting to make sure he doesn't get too slowed and stuck in the back line. Good engage there, not enough to pick something up. The Tartarus Titans still a bit behind at the moment, 2,000 gold, which is really the most they've been behind all set, I imagine. The Camelot Kings were able to find a little bit of success in games 1 and 2, but never coming out this early, swinging this early on. And now it's really up to Captain Twig to say, can we keep shutting down Paul consistently? That's where I imagine he's going to be putting all of his pressure. When he ults, it has to be over a Sanctified Field.
Cyclone Spin will be kept under the Tier 1 tower thanks to the pressure from Netroid and the pressure Genetics is able to apply to him earlier on. Purple buff will be invaded Will it go to them is the question, though, because Aurora has rotated over. Would have to expend another ability to try and grab that. Instead, Genetics will dash in, stun out Aurora. Aurora does manage to get the Mez, so Netroid is stunned out. Cyclone's been rotating back in. Netroid, no mana to keep this fight up, but plenty healthy with Genetics.
Yeah, doesn't have a lot of mana here, and Cyclone Spin does have the ultimate available. I was thinking maybe a Chariot chase down, but with the amount of peel Genetics has, looks like not wanting to risk it. They will just have to back off here. Variety is getting so much pressure in this lane, and SOT can't ult in, so he's going to lose a fair bit of that wave to the tower, just showing how much AMC specifically is going to win that 1v1. It's just not too good clear right now. SOT with this build he's gone is going to be getting bullied for quite some time. He's going to be getting even more far behind in gold, whereas Variety is just sitting here level 9 with Transcendence online, gets to essentially sit here for free.
Well, Aurora will steal away a couple of offerings, so first trebuchet of the game goes to the Tartarus Titans, even despite being down about 1,500 or so gold. Another invade, maybe, over towards the blue buff. Variety walks by, but Captain Twig too far away. Instead, it's Variety in danger. No sprint to get the B out this time around. Layers will dash in, and he'll find the kill. Finally, the Titans find themselves on the board. SOT dives right back in. Genetics uses the ult to find an escape path out. Will he get enough distance? Now with the Chariot crashing down from Cyclone Spin, Captain Twig is the one in danger, and he'll have to use the Colossal Fury to fight back into 3. But that's a couple of Hunters and a Nem, probably not the target that you want to fight by yourself.
Yeah, Paul is not going to be making that rotation over, so the ult is down, and Aurora sends him up. Do they have the CC to follow this one up? No. The Umbrella is going to be enough to get that one out, but now Genetics might be in some trouble.
Does dash through, but Genetics got thrown right in the middle of 4 again. SOT picks up the kill, and now Netroid is rotated over. Big crit, and another follow-up auto. Netroid finds 1, and Big Man Ting's now on the way. Airstrike in, Netroid to close the gap up against Layers, but now it's a Sanctified Field on the tail, and Netroid finds the double kill amidst the fight. Captain Twig will go down, and Netroid may finally slow down this push in.
That's going to be 3 kills for the Tartarus Titans and 2 going the way of Layers. That's going to help out your late game, I should say, immensely. SOT finds 1 as well, but goes down, and unfortunately, Cyclone Spin makes that long rotation over, gets none of those last hits, and also is going to fall down. Unfortunately, once again, Netroid was the one who got all 3 of those kills. We've seen this before, J-Mac. We have seen
flashbacks.
We have seen an early game Jingwei get a lot of these last hits in these engagements, and right now Netroid's looking very similar to the way Cyclone Spin was looking last game. He's already critting with that Wind Demon, and it's only going to get even worse as the game goes on.
Might be the fastest Pyromancer that we have seen for the entirety of this event. The instant that objective spawned in, the Camelot Kings were already surrounding it and take it down in just under 10 seconds after it was brought back to this earth. And now the Camelot Kings can continue to extend their lead up back towards that 2,000 plus gold lead that they had earlier on.
Yeah, I expect to see Netroid getting very aggressive in this lane. If ever Cyclone Spin is too far up, he's just going to be dashing in. It's a 3-level deficit right now. Has crit online where Cyclone Spin is. He's got a tier 2 shuriken and half of his stacks on a dev gauntlet. So not looking too great in this lane specifically. He's going to have to play very slow and not want to force anything, whereas the Camelot Kings, complete opposite. They want to look after this Gold Fury right away. They want to look for CC. Layers taking a lot of damage already.
Eating a ton of poke just from Genetics, and now that the rest of the Kings are here, and that's all 5 of them, by the way, once Netroid rotates in. The Gold Fury will be started up. The Titans are forced to answer back to this in some way. Otherwise, the Camelot Kings are going to build yet another big lead up. Stun up against Aurora. The knockup is good, and Aurora is low. SOT drops in the middle of the fray. Genetics is stuck, but does find a way out with his own ultimate. Fire Shards will rain down and get some damage. Cyclone in the Chariot has a great grouping to dive into, but without his team there at full health, he will sway from that.
Yeah, it's a smart call. The Tartarus Titans recognize they stopped that Gold Fury. They used all their ults, and now they're ready to back off. They still have Sanctified Field if anything comes after the fact. Epic Uppercut could be nice to just leash who's ever tanking that Gold Fury and send them up into the sky. And the Camelot Kings recognize that as well and will just back off. They have about pretty close to a 3K gold lead. There really is no reason to try and force something right now. Just about 2.6. So anything they try to do, they want to make sure it's not telegraphed, and a blink in just to get Paul's beads, and now Genetics gets the back off.
Yeah, free set of beads. Obviously had to use the blink, but that's going to come up faster than when Paul gets his relic back up online. So the Camelot Kings controlling the momentum of this game, and the Titans trying to pull it back to themselves. A rotation over. Genetics has spotted it out. Big Man Tings is here, but no ultimate. Stun is good on Aurora, but the Gold Fury has not been leased. A Sanctified Field dropped in the backline by Paul, and the Gold Fury should go to the Tartarus Titans now. It's a matter of can everybody find a path out. Aurora separates himself from the team, and Captain Twig is the only one looking for a chase.
Aurora has Blink here, so isn't in too much danger. The purple buff will go down, but you already have the Fury. That's the real prize there. I think that was a great use of Sanctified Field. Sure, you're essentially saying, well, 50-50, but if everything's in slow motion, it's a weighted coin. It's all in your favor. The Tartarus Titans are able to confirm that one and climb that gold a little bit back in their favor, but they lose 2 Tier 1 towers, and now it's back. The Camelot Kings still have that massive lead we were talking about. It's actually grown a little bit.
Yeah, the Kings can go ahead and take away the Greater Scorpion as well, so that will remove some extra farm from the Tartarus Titans. Camelot Kings 3K up, 13 minutes in. One of the larger leads that we've seen in this early game. And looking at Big Man Ting's build, went for that Warlock Staff, something we expected. The Charon's Coin was something that was being rushed by mid laners. We've seen a little bit of a fallout of it, mostly because we haven't really seen that many mages up until this point, but he'll pick it up second item.
Yeah, that's how I build Baba Yaga, just getting some free stacks online.
Penta stack build.
Yeah, but with your ult, you should be able to get a bunch of them as well. Stinger goes down, SOT's gonna have to fly to someone. Right now he's just thinking, where's the play? And he's just gonna go right back down.
Right back in. Captain Twig will use the ult to chase him down. Does Captain Twig have the distance? No, it is not. A good body block by Layers actually stops him right in his tracks, and SOT thanking his jungler for the save.
That was sick. That not only did Variety miss the sprint, unfortunately Captain Twig did not get to be able to zoom forward. Layers just dashed forward and stood there menacingly. And Captain Twig, when you become the big baby, you got a big hitbox, and he was not able to zoom around in there.
Who would win in a fight? One small girl with a sword or one giant baby boy? The answer is the girl with the sword to body block him out. Layers a great play to make sure his teammate gets out, and still holding on to an XP lead for himself. 2-0-1 compared to Captain Twig's 1-1-2. We do see now with Layers going back, will pick up hi-rez Lament, a nice little power spike for the Nemesis.
Yeah, so much damage with the auto attack cancels of this Nemesis with the shield, the dash, the slice and dice. You have so much to proc that hi-rez Lament. It's going to be a great addition to his damage. But Pyromancer, remember, it was done right at about 10:15, so it's already about to be up once again at 15 minutes. You can see the Camelot Kings are sort of grouping around this objective. They want to make sure they can get it as quickly as possible.
Slight grouping towards Pyro. It should be up in about another 10 seconds, because that's just how quickly the Camelot Kings took it last time it spawned in. The Kings are baiting people
That's not
forward.
Pyro.
No, that's Pyromancer's big brother. SOT loses his beads instantly in the midst of the fight. Aurora finds a double mez in the back line, but SOT is just being ran up by Captain Twig. Thorns are popped, but Captain Twig doesn't have his ultimate to get out of here. He will fall down. Paul, credit to the kill. SOT still alive after all of that. Layers gets that shield up online just in time to get away from the brunt, but a lot of the players on the Titans are low.
Yeah, it seems like every time the Camelot Kings get picked, they're able to find something massive back to make sure the gold still stays in their favor. This time it's just the Pyromancer, and losing Captain Twig is going to be huge. The bigger thing, though, Cyclone Spin did not fly in this time. He said, I'm going to get some farm. I don't like being 2 levels behind. I don't like laning against a level 16 Jingwei, so he's just going to stay, push as much as he can, and see if he can take away that purple buff. He cannot. He doesn't really have that much damage, and fighting Netroid is worse than laning against him, and he's going to immediately just give that purple buff up. But either way, he was able to get some farm during that engagement and just push through the tower. That is going to be a decent win for the Tartarus Titans, but again, the Kings answered back with that Pyromancer despite losing Twig there.
Yeah, Netroid, level 17 on the Jingwei compared to level 14 from Cyclone. Big Man Ting's fighting against Layers, finds a good stun against Nemesis. Variety is here, and Variety will make sure that Layers has a path out, but Captain Twig finds the knock up on the dash right after. Layers does not have his shield any longer, and so he does not have a health bar anymore. Variety picks him up.
Yeah, he gets the Aegis from Big Man Tings, but not knowing where everyone from the Kings was, probably not a great play to try to use everything on that new wall. Look where he's not in lane right now. Netroid has flown into the right side of the map. There's no Pyromancer there, J-Mac. They are looking for a Fire Giant call here. 1 down. Layers was 2-0, a pretty big form of damage for the Titans. Essentially, it's on Paul right now. Can you get a massive Sanctified Field and stop this FG burn?
Aurora was spotted on the Hive. Fire Giant started by the Camelot Kings. Cyclone the only one not here to stop this one, but he's going to need some help for Aurora at the least. Down to about 30% HP on the Kumba, but he's not going to be healthy enough to continue this push towards Fire Giant. Cyclone has not left the left lane just yet. He will remain there, and Captain Twig will play zone duty up against Paul. Fire Giant, unless by some miracle from SOT or Paul, will go over to the Camelot Kings.
And it looks like SOT might be getting chased down here. Has to go up into the ult, but he's getting crit by... Yeah, he's gone. There's no way he survives that one.
Didn't even have the opportunity to use a relic at that point. Could have beads. No, he couldn't have. That was down. Aegis, that was down as well. So SOT just gets wombo combo to death.
Yeah, I thought maybe he'd try to channel that ult there, but with how much CC they have and with how much Netroid is auto-attacking for here, not going to be the option. It looks like Cyclone Spin and Layers will be able to get the Primal Fury in return. There's a tier 2 tower in right, though, and that's really what they're trying to get. They may be even looking... They might not be able to do this. It's going to do a lot of damage.
Cyclone has to Aegis the channel immediately after. They used a lot to guarantee that one. By a lot, I mean they had to use an Aegis to do so, which is not something that you want to expend to kill a single objective.
But the Camelot Kings didn't see that. No one tell them. As long as they don't figure this one out, Cyclone Spin should be just fine. They won't put all of their burst into him because they'll assume that relic is up. Either way, it definitely had to be used. The shield was not up for Layers. No one else was going to be able to tank that one. Cyclone has to use that Aegis just to confirm they get that extra little bit of gold here. Now, the Camelot Kings are able to run it down left lane. Remember, there is a Trebuchet in that lane. They can try and use it just for defense on the Phoenix if they so choose. Paul notably has some damage. Bill went for the Demonic Grip right into Obsidian Shard, so trying to get a ton of penetration for these tankier targets. When dealing with a Vamana diving you probably want to build against that Vamana specifically because you really can't hit anyone else if the Vamana's in your face.
No one to stop Netroid from pushing down this tier 2 tower. That's more gold in the pockets of the Camelot Kings, and this is the first time that they've had a lead this expansive so far. It's nothing outrageous just yet, sitting around 5K, 5,500 up for the Kings. But the largest they've been able to grab it in these first couple of games has only been around that 2,000, 2,500 mark. So finally, the Camelot Kings have some kind of lead. The question to you, Charlie, is where do they push that? Do they just work on this last tower and then back away, or do they push for a Phoenix?
Well, they have a left side Trebuchet, the Camelot Kings, that is. The Tartarus Titans also do, but right now it's pushing down that left side of the map. So I imagine the Camelot Kings will try to get these towers here, and then once someone goes over to defend, maybe look for some aggression. It's not a massive lead. It's not up to the 10, 11,000 mark where you can just run into a Phoenix for free. But with Captain Twig's ult, it looks like Genetics is going to bring them all somewhere to the right side. Phoenix, maybe?
Yeah, right side, bringing a minion right in so they can grab that. It's the classic combo that Genetics loves to pull on this god, and it's one of the reasons why so many teams were taking this pick away. An easy play for the Camelot Kings to sweep a Phoenix.
Yeah, I thought maybe they were trying to go to Cyclone Spin there, but right when you see where that horse is flying to, you know. I mean, we know. They can't see it. They have no idea where Genetics was trying to channel that ult to, but we knew that Phoenix was going to be down. As long as you bring the minions, the backdoor protections are gone, and you're able to get a Phoenix and get out. Most notably the right Phoenix, so not going to be the worst thing in the world if you are a Tartarus Titan. You get to say, hey, we'll defend this pretty easily. Maybe we can still split the map. Remember, they still have 2 global ultimates in SOT or Cyclone Spin, so someone can push left and still join the fight in right. Only about 45 more seconds on this Fire Giant. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to get much off this. Right now, they're sort of grouped in that left lane, maybe. Just maybe the Camelot Kings will try one more push with this Fire Giant, but it's going to be risky. They only have 30 seconds.
Minions are pushed very far up for the Tartarus Titans in that left lane, but you do see Captain Twiggus rotate over to slow that one down and make sure to keep the creep advantage towards their team. 20 seconds until Fire Giant wears off. The Camelot Kings are biding their time, playing patiently with a minion wave here. Genetics could always try and pull another sneaky play, go towards the left Phoenix if they push that far up. But I don't imagine the Camelot Kings will want to aggress too much further once this buff wears away.
Well, they're pretty close now, just pushing a little bit more.
Is he really going to do it again?
The Fire Giant buff is gone, and it looks like Variety is here as well, so they don't have a wave to bring in, and they will just back up. A death here means possibly losing your Fire Giant because it's about to spawn in about 50 seconds, and you don't want to lose that much presence. So I respect the Camelot King's decision to just say, we'll back up here, get a little bit more farm. We really want this next FG. This one is one where you get to break the base and get a lot of Phoenixes if it goes your way. The Camelot King's playing this about as smart as you can.
Playing it very patiently. If we take a look at the Relic Roundup, everybody has got their relics ready to go for the next fight. Genetics not on the Fafnir, so he can't coerce everybody. So instead, has picked up a Bell to the Berserker to give everybody that extra boost of attack speed. Aurora, just like the desk was talking about, finding some kind of anti-heal to deal with this Vamana, to deal with genetics. It's a Toxic Blade out of layers, and then that Cursed Ankh picked up by Aurora.
Yeah, that is going to help just turn on a Captain Twig. There is going to be a certain point where Captain Twig no longer is allowed to dive the backline. We are not at that point yet. It'll be close with the upgraded Ankh, and I think if all the ADCs are there, certainly Captain Twig gets shredded down, but not quite at the point of the game where you can just shred through a Vamana that's ulting. Fire Giant Meteor has touched down, and 4 of the Tartarus Titans are here in group ready to defend.
All a little bit further behind. Meanwhile, 4 of the Titans, or 4 of the Kings right away, and Captain Twig just now joining. So 5 versus 5. This Fire Giant could spell the end of the game if the Kings can find enough members of the Titans to take out. Variety zoning SOT with some of the honey and with some damage after. SOT lose a lot of health. Aurora goes in, and Aurora might just go down into the Sleepy Time passive. Aurora will not be able to hold himself out. Variety gets 1, and Captain Twig batting away in the backline will distract the other 4 members of the Titans.
Yeah, when Aurora goes down, you don't have the Ankh for the baby, and Captain Twig will be able to just zone off everyone. His ult is down, but Fire Giant is also down around the waist of all 5 members of the Camelot Kings. Remember that right Phoenix was down a bit ago. It's about to spawn in here soon, but they're going to be going for this mid Phoenix. I don't even think they need Genetics' ult here. They could simply just walk in.
They can. Minion wave here. It's only Paul to defend. Sanctified Field up. Paul will charge up his damage from the end, but Genetics will hopefully be able to burn through this mid-Phoenix fast enough to now bring the minion wave over to the left side and take the last Phoenix away. And that will be a clean sweep of all of the birds. The right one about to come back up, but 2 fire minion waves already there. Tartarus Titans have been left with nothing to defend.
Yeah, it looks like that bird could go down. No one was ready for that respawn. Cyclone, maybe if he gets a mez on these archers or gets in front of these minions, it's going to be close. I think the bot, no, it's gone. There's no way. Yeah, they were not able to defend that one. Cyclone could have ulted. As far as I'm concerned, that was a lazy play, no. Yeah, I think that was a one-shot Phoenix, and they have plenty of ADCs to get that one down either way. Not going to be the biggest hurt, but I imagine the Tartarus Titans probably wanted that one to stay up.
And all the while, the Gold Fury does get picked up by the Camelot King, so they add a little bit more gold to their pockets. 13,000, closer to maybe that 12K mark up for the Chaos side team. 10,000 experience doesn't really matter as much, even though the fact that SOT hasn't had the opportunity to hit level 20 yet. A starter item down for one of your hunters is a massive deficit. In fact, none of the carry-style players on the Titans have been able to pick up their starter yet.
Yeah, Genetics is wrapping around here, trying to see if he can find anything. SOT, the last one to back, will not get caught out there, so we'll be able to back up pretty effectively. And now they've got a Trebuchet pushing in left. That's going to delay some of these fire minions, but we've seen how calculated the Camelot Kings are. They're just going to wait for these minions to push up and dissect, figure out where they're going to find a relic, where they're going to find someone a little bit too far up, and that's when Genetics is going to be able to blink in, find an initiation, or simply ult them to the Titan. They have that sort of DPS where if they do that and you're not ready for it, the Titan's going to be completely deleted.
And you see with that statement there, that's when we see the Titans back themselves all the way up to the throne room, because all it takes is one ult from Genetics to transport your entire team towards that side of victory. Captain Twig will make sure to keep this left side pushed up, and fire minions to now shred down all 3 lanes. And it's going to force somebody to answer to each one of them.
Yeah, Layers is looking to be on Captain Twig duty, whereas Ariety is going to start getting very annoying with the honey poke. Aurora's going to take a lot of damage here.
Aurora doesn't have his passive this time. Netruid finds a big crit up against Cyclone. The fight has already gone south for the Tartarus Titans. They're going to need a big turnaround in the 4v5. Sanctified Field by Paul gets a lot of damage. Variety low, use the beats to get out, and Aurora will zone them all away, but Captain Twig is still batting away on the Vamana, and the Camelot Kings in game number 3 are able to turn it around and keep their set alive.
Jingwei once again going undying. 5-0 this time for Netroid. Finds so much early pressure off that first blood and is able to just roll with it. Captain Twig also doing a great job. Not getting too many kills, but what he did do is stop the carries of the Tartarus Titans being able to perform. When you have a Vamana in your face, it's hard to look towards anyone else. You have to focus your damage or you have to retreat.
So what I'm hearing, Charlie, is that if you're not first pick, you just need to ban Jingwei at this point, because 3 games Jingwei has gone to a team. All 3 of those games, the team with Jingwei has won. I've got to imagine that that's sitting in the back of the minds of the pros. We'll see what adaptations are made as we get ready for game 4 right after this.
No relic for that man, but he had up to Halsey, and Halsey, don't you stop! Fido King, Fido King!
I gave up dabbing for Lynn.
Cool. No more dabbing for Final Call. He looked at me and said, I'm going to be on that stage next year. I'm going to become a world champion. Ripping through! Titan down, ball 3! A double cover!
I seldom see a flaw, bitch, I need it all. Shook by the way life is lately. I feel the earth pirouette, I'm dazed like I'm seeing stars. Got them all on the wave, it's more than just words to a page. Just feel like I'm hosting a read-along, and I speak in tongues. No translation, I'm out the bottle, I'm grieving, leaving the beat, needed CPR. I'm disconnected, I feel the pressure, I need acceptance. I'm from the crevice, where all my homies on something special. They subtle flexing, but still they hella selfless. Chasing a bag, but it's good, they don't need the Franklins to keep it 100. I'm seeing shit down the barrel, I named that gun right America. Armed with the inkjet, I'm flaring up in my element. We losing brothers to bullshit, we need protection, cause real niggas is rare enough. I rewrite the narrative, I conquer that feat alone. Got the needle jumping like bungee, I'm in the field like I'm hunting. The work is dope off the burner, I'm calculated, I'm talking numbers, pray for longevity. Sent to somebody's deity, wrote this down as my therapy. Yeah, I'm deep in tune with my energy. I slide away from you, get higher than a back, then I'm liable to hurt you. I just fall to the background. I just wanna way out of it. Yeah, things been sorta shaky. Time is moving real fast. I just wanna lay here. I just wanna lay here. Talk is dense, I'm trying to make sense of it. My stomach turning between its lit and the dissonance. I know some people that's feeling sick just existing here. Brain blister, been caught up deep in the thick of it. I lane switch through the fog, it's hard to see where I'm headed. But it ain't no turning back, the past is where we've been. It feel like something missing, and I've been out here on an impossible mission. My head down to myself, and I smile to stay in the moment while trying to stay up my feelings. Trying to boost my subscribers, I'm trying to maintain the vision. People that know me closest live different than what they show me. It's hard to feel like they know me when I'm just scrolling through images. Truth be told, I feel pain, but I'm on the pinnacle. Been chasing this music thing for a minute though. Know some good people that never see success, and here I am sitting worried about show appearances. With everything crazy, you still my source of peace. You filter out the lows, you give me what I need. We'll give you the world, but it don't belong to me. It's feeling like it's love, if not, it's the closest I'll be. I slide with I want you, get higher than I'm back, then I'm liable to hurt you. I just fall to the background. I just wanna way out of it. Yeah, things been sorta shaky. The time been moving real fast. I just wanna lay here. I just wanna lay here.
Camelot Kings hold the line and live to tell another story. Game number 4 coming up. That last one was a very strong showing from the Camelot Kings. It looks like they finally settled in.
A small adjustment, getting it active in the early game. We saw them invading on the Fafnir, but now picking the Horus, they're invading a little bit more. They get an early kill in the dual lane as well, so getting things off to a good start, able to invade buffs, move around the map. And some great ultimates by Genetics in the late game as well. Pushing out mid-Phoenix, then ulting to the right, pushing the mid-Phoenix again, ulting to the left, able to get some very efficient movements around the map. And Netroid, just like a Jingwei we saw on Cyclone Spin, gets off to a very good start and has a very good game for himself.
That's where it all started too, that fight in the solo lane. Netroid made his way over. I think you and I were watching that from the green room and kind of going, this is a really awkward fight for the Camelot Kings, and then Netroid rotated in, everyone else came, and they were able to flip it on its head, and ever since, Netroid really went ham.
Where have I seen this before?
That's just revenge on Cyclone Spin right there.
And another Hunter as well in the solo lane. Variety able to have a good game for himself. So actually almost matching the rotations of Solo Troll. AMC pretty fast through the jungle as long as he has those hives down as well. So able to find a kill on layers, a good amount of poke just throughout this game as well, and be that second Hunter for his team.
And you see here, this is that second Fire Giant fight. They're able to kill Aurora, who pushes up maybe a little bit too far there by himself. He does find a pretty big knock-up. And then knocks back 3 people with the landing, but no one really there to follow up from the Tartarus Titans. But I think we had this conversation as well, but the Titans, I don't think their confidence is particularly knocked by this loss.
No, I think that their draft was just a little different compared to the 2 wins that they had. This draft was more similar to Jade Dragons, really, with the 4 carries and the 1 support. And the Kings just beat Jade Dragons. They already countered this playstyle, so they come in and do much the same thing. Captain Twig having a great game himself as well, a great quick counter pick to that Oleron. It was a snap lock, wasn't it? As soon as that Oleron was locked in, we saw an instant for mana on the other side as well. So I think maybe a small falter in the draft from the Titans there. Something that should be relatively easy to adjust. Now that Kings have shown more cards as well, they have more information to go off of, and they can get into the next draft with that information and use it to their advantage.
It does look like the Kings have also relaxed a little bit compared to compared to their game against the Dragons earlier. They just seemed a little bit flustered, a little bit sloppy in those first 2 games. This time around, I think they restrained themselves, settled back into that style that they enjoy playing.
But yeah, well, before this game, their backs were up against the wall. It couldn't get any worse, really. It's either they're basically out at that point. So just throw a Hail Mary, do your best. They're already 2-0 down, so it's not a good look. So they do that. They come in relaxed, like you said, and end up picking a win with a more aggressive playstyle than we're used to. But they did, again, scale into that team fight stage where they can use their macro prowess and ult around the map with the Horus and things like that. So Horus, not respect banned, much the same bans from Titans. Jingwei, however, banned away from the Kings because Titans would probably have first picked it this time around.
And J-Mac said it right there, right? There is, you can make the argument for correlation and causation, but when every single game Jingwei's picked up the person who has her wins, I think that's a pretty good...
The stats don't lie.
Yeah, it's good enough evidence to go, we don't want to play against this Jingwei this time around. The Kings will have to go to something different. We've seen Netroid still have some really great performances on gods like the Artemis, which are still on the table, as are Rama. And we haven't seen Rama much this week.
We saw Rama, not this week, but we did see him in the first week. But even though he was picked quite often and seemed to do decently well in some of that games, in fact, finding a lot of solo kills on Rama, but he still had a pretty terrible win ratio. I think he had 6 wins to 13 or something like that in the first week, so fell out of favor from the second week. Nuwa, however, something they are going to bring back, and AMC can't go wrong with that either.
I don't dislike this at all. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, they are missing the Jingwei, however, so they will miss out on that. Oleron was picked up here for the Titans in the last game. I can't imagine they'll be doing that again when that Vamana is still available on the side of Kings. So if the Oleron isn't picked up here, I imagine we will actually see the Horus for the 3rd pick here instead.
Potentially, yeah. Actually, the East set looks like Paul wants to play this one back. It worked out really well for him in that first game, so why not?
Yeah, it did. I kind of like he's just going to run the same build. It is effective against the Nuar as well. Maybe it's actually a counter enough to the Horus. It's really really difficult for Horus to find an engage against an ESET. Sorry, you can find ESET with the stun, and then you can get the knockup. But if he tries for the knockup first, ESET can immune that away, and also you can peel the Horus fairly easily if ESET is behind whoever the Horus's target is.
I think though, actually, Ro, thinking about it, we got the Ul and the Chernobog. Chernobog we've been seeing mainly go towards the solo lane, Ul towards the mid lane. So could we potentially see a swap up here with the Chernobog maybe going to a different lane, or are we? I guess my question is, are we 100% sure this is going to the mid lane?
I think it'd be ambitious to say 100%, but I'd honestly say above 80% sure, yes, because I think Chernobog does totally fine in the duo lane. I think Ula is certainly better in the solo lane in this meta. Maybe it's equal with it in the mid lane, but I would rather put ESET in mid rather than support. Let Solo or Troll play that Ula again. The last time he played that, he had a great game, and Chernobog being absolutely one of Cyclone Spin's best gods as well.
And he'll be going up against the AMC as well, which definitely not a bad matchup for the Ula to go into. Has a little bit more CC there, so definitely could be an adaptation made here by the Tartarus Titans. Got to agree with you there. The back-end bans are relatively similar, but look at this. Decidedly not banning the Olaran are the Kings, but Vamana was taken away. So I wonder what the Kings are going to do here. Clearly the Titans want to go for that Olaran.
Well, Kings don't need to ban the Olaran if they're assuming that ESET is in mid, right? So unless they flex ESET to support, there's no chance of them picking that Olaran, so that way they don't really need to pick the Vamana in the early part of the draft. However, Titans have still banned away the Vamana, so they still respect it regardless of whether or not the Olaran is on their side. But that leaves more options open for Kings and Twig. He's got the Nemesis now if he wanted to play it. He's got the Loki available again, and maybe better than ever, the Humbats is back available.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And taking a look, Ola and ESET, not bad targets for the Monkey to go onto.
No, pretty good, and especially if we're going to team fight with this team fight kind of comp. AMC will bring the early pressure they need. Izanami, I imagine going to the dual lane, AMC solo, Horus support, and then Nuwa back in the mid lane, of course. So still missing their jungler are Kings, and Titans haven't yet decided where that ESET is going. I would like to see it in mid, like I said, but it could still flex to that support role.
Going back to the Izanami, I believe we saw Netrioid play this earlier on in the week. Correct me if I'm wrong, but currently sitting at a 67% win rate, so that's 2 out of 3. So definitely not a bad pickup. Definitely works well with the meta that we're currently in. And with the Horus, this is going to be one hell of a wave clear lane.
Yeah, I mean, this dual lane just has high kill potential. We saw them get a kill with this dual lane in the last game. Well, not this dual lane, but with the Horus in the last game, able to get an early king on Jinwei. If you got an early kill on Izanami, it'd be much the same result with a very snowball hunter. So a good pickup if they want to get aggressive in the early lane. They have another side lane and the AMC getting aggressive, and then Nuwa just scaling in the mid lane. But now they're going to have to deal with a Fenrir as well jumping on them.
Does look like that ESET will be going towards the mid lane now with these last 2 picks locked in. Kings still looking for a jungler, and Twig will look towards this Loki as a potential.
I like this better. Yeah, I like this better for Titans compared to last game. It's a move away from the one frontline that the Dragons were playing that the Kings already beat. Now they have the Fenrir as an extra engage tool, an extra peel tool, more utility rather than the 4 carry style that the Dragons were playing and that Titans seemed to emulate the last game. So it's good that they moved away from that. They just lost with it, and Kings had clearly beaten it early in the day. So now Kings back up against a more even teamfight comp. So I imagine, yes, Kings will be getting active in the early game, but once it gets to that mid-game stage, both teamfight comps are relatively even in this regard, so they can have some pretty competitive fights.
Looking at this dual lane row, I think I want to highlight first. Chernobog Kumba, I think, is what we're assuming on the Titan side versus the Izanami and Horus. We already talked about how high a kill pressure that is from the King's end. How does that lane play from the Tartarus side?
Try not to die. Yeah, that's how you counter a kill lane. You just try not to die. I don't think they've drafted any kill pressure themselves, so they're not able to fight back. It will be hard to kill through Kumbhakana passive, and as a double dash out of Chernobog. If he needs the ult to get away, he has that as well. And honestly, it was a small mistake the last game as well. I think Cyclone Spin could have just blown his beads on that Horus setup and he would have lived, but credit to Netroid, able to hit every single one of those auto attacks to get that kill as well. So I think we'll see a lot of lane pressure out of the Izanami and the Horus, being able to scare them back so they won't be able to fight into that lane, and then we'll see a lot of fast farm out of the Izanami and Horus, cleaning up those jungle buffs, maybe getting in purple invade too.
And then obviously, back on the Titan side, they're re-picking up this Fenrir. Worked out pretty well for them earlier on in the set. What targets are we looking for this Fenrir? Where is Leia's attention going to be?
I think he just has to be ready to peel, be ready to stun whoever goes on Kumbhakana, just like Iset will be ready to stun or silence out the Horus. I think that little disruption from that utility that Fenrir gives, and also the Beads Force as well, so it's much harder for Loki to get a clean engage if he doesn't have that blink. He might have to ult in to a target, but then left with no beads, left with no way to get out because he'd be in combat with that blink. So we can see Loki start with beads to try to counter the Fenrir, but that is a slower gameplay from them as well. So maybe we see some Fenrir ults and able to fight back a little bit.
So potentially you're envisioning some hardship for Captain Twig at the
Some
start.
back and forth on both sides, really, yeah.
Sure, fair enough. It's Kumbhakana, very high CC character. Like, we saw Raw have some success on it. That last game, though, he was a little over-ambitious.
Yeah, but that's kind of what happens when the enemy hunter gets a big lead like that. If he has that much damage, a level 20 hunter with stacks on his Gilded Arrow is just going to be able to blow up Kumbhakana. He even had to sell half an item at one point to pick up that Spectral and just try to live a little longer, but it was too little too late. So the goal for him is just to not let Netroid get fed this time.
One more game in the balance. The Titans have to close this one out, or the Kings will bring us to a game number 5. Once again, J-Mac and Trelly on the cast.
Thank you so much, Blazy and Rowe. For the Camelot Kings, they've just got to keep the wins coming to keep themselves alive and take themselves to game number 5. The Tartarus Titans are not going to make it so easy for them. Game number 4. J-Mac, Trelly, and Doug one more time. As we jump right back in, Captain Twig, the only one who has changed his god. Netroid as well, obviously. The Jingwei did get banned away, as well as the Vamana. But other than that, kind of the core of the Camelot Kings from the last game, still relatively the same here, Trelly.
Yeah, but the biggest switch up for me is that SOT is not on that Chernobog. He's going to be on the Ullr solo, much more dominant in lane. This is what SOT likes to play, right? He likes to get active, he likes to get pressure. That's why he was playing the Chernobog. And then Variety says, I'm going to go the B, and I will simply have better fight than you, better clear. SOT was largely pushed under tower. Now, if you're hitting everything, Ullr can easily bully out this AMC. I expect to see a lot more aggression in this lane because of that. Also, Cyclone Spin is going to be on this Chernobog. He probably doesn't want to fight into Netroid at all. We're looking at a Horus and an Izanami in the lane. That way we'll be getting cleared so fast and so much pressure. Cyclone Spin, once again, has to sit at that tower line and not push up, because right when level 2 ticks over, right about now, Genex will usually blink in and try to find some sort of relic. Doesn't have to blink this time around. He actually went for beats.
Genetics getting aggressive against Cyclone Spin, a lot of damage. And with the help of these cleave boomerang autos by Netroid, he's able to not only deal that damage to the wave, but also to the enemy. SOT losing out on the trade boxing match with his opposition Variety. And Genetics and Netroid will proxy farm. I don't think I have seen a dual lane proxy farm this early in the game in years, Trelly.
Yeah, and since the picks like this were in favor, the Sylvanas and the Izanami, they get to clear the waves so easily, and they just get all of your camps for free. Those Harpies will be gone. If you look on the left, those will be gone pretty soon as well, and you're just going to be taking a lot of damage. Cyclone Spin right now doesn't have too much sustain. He's got Health Pot, Multi-Pot available. Genetics is just sitting there trying to make sure these waves actually die to the tower. If they do, they'll be losing a lot of gold. As long as Genetics doesn't touch you, he won't be getting targeted by this tower at all.
Layers walks by Twig and Big Man Tings, who are going back to their back camp. I'm not sure that Layers wants to maybe take this 2v1 fight. Not a whole lot of CC to these two's name. Big Man Tings had to use a couple abilities to close that one out. But Captain Twig will be able to get his camp. He'll work on over towards the right side by taking those smaller Harpies as well. But Layers fishing for something over on this right-hand side. Variety has his beads, but the beads are going to save you from this. The stun is good, but the brutalize is even better. Layers picks up first blood. SOT pops the beads early, gets away from Captain Twig.
Yeah, that's a great beads there. The slow alone would have made sure that Captain Twig can find that kill, but Genetics and Netroid with infinite pressure, they're going to be looking at this red buff. Aurora gets the chance and actually save that hog. Remember, that was for the purple buff, but when you want to save Paul's red buff, you save Paul's red buff. Simple as that. The purple buff won't be getting looked at either, so great play by Aurora. Not only did the Tartarus Titans get first blood in that lane, they get to confirm their own farm for them. Essentially, the Camelot Kings just wasted some time. They're actually losing minions to the tower now, so that's a massive play by Aurora.
Aurora able to save the day for Paul, keep his mid laner happy, and that's really what you want on the Tartarus Titans, is to allow Paul to be able to keep his farm. Even though if he doesn't get the experience, he at the very least gets the buff to be able to maintain some of that pressure in the mid lane. Paul once again going for this book rush. Even Big Man Tings swapping it up. A book 1 for Big Man Tings over on the new wall.
Yeah, maybe wanting to match some of that early damage. Probably going to be a good bet anyways. Nua's burst is something you want to enjoy, but looking at the timer on Variety's beats, remember, SOT and Variety both bees at about the same time, and these junglers both can capitalize on that. Layers will have a very easy kill, and Captain Twig, once he ticks over to level 5, also could find some pressure in that lane. Whichever jungle gets here first gets the kill as far as I'm concerned, and who's coming to town but this Fenrir?
Layers is already at the tower, but it's only going to be around the tower. Now that Variety knows that this Fenrir is lurking in the jungle, we'll be playing a little bit safer under the safety of that T1. Captain Twig rotates over towards mid, but Paul's got a set of beads of his own, now stacking that Book of Thoughts. It'll just be back to the farm game for the mid laner one more time. Layers jumps in, finds the bite, but it gets it off the back of the ultimate from Big Man Tings.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe Captain Twig tries to follow up there, but with Paul, the circle of protection, and no more chase available. Hold that thought. SOT's got to hit 2 abilities here.
Solo kill. Maybe just needs some help from Cyclone Spin, who misses everything. Variety is boxing it back out, and he takes him down. Variety. What a big turnaround. And then what an even better turnaround from the Kings. Captain Twig pops in to get a kill of his own.
I mean, if Cyclone doesn't land that auto attack, that's just a huge throw. He was able to trade, thank goodness, but he missed just about everything on the Variety. A very speedy beat when the Hives are down. Credit to Cyclone Spin to not choke that one after the first couple missed abilities, but Netroid did not make that rotation because he can't. He just pushed a wave under tower, was able to go back to base, and sure, you lose a little bit of gold, but you also give the return kill to Variety in that lane, and now the B is going to be a level up on SOT.
It's not going to be fun when the B gets ahead. Aurora finds a mez on Genetics, but Genetics will be fine. He'll be able to dash back to the safety of his minions. Paul using most of his abilities for poke and now doesn't have anything left for clear, but he'll be fine. Big Man Ting's not wanting to collapse in with Genetics as the Camelot Kings get off to a nice and early start.
We will get to see what led from this. It was just the stinger from Variety, then SOT was able to return fire, then immediately Variety realized, wait, there's someone else that could fly in here, and starts to retreat.
Does manage to sidestep one shot, sidestep a second, and then even eats the dash immediately afterwards. So Cyclone Spin not able to capitalize off of his rotation, does give that kill to Variety, and keeps the B comfortable in solo.
Yeah, I have no doubts that Cyclone thought that dash killed. I don't think he was like, dash auto, I'm going to kill myself type deal. I think he was like, that dash is going to kill, and then maybe I'll be able to run out, maybe I get into the wall and dash away. It didn't do enough damage, and he actually clutched up and turned around and made sure to finish that one. But again, Netroid is going to have a lot of pressure in this lane because of rotations like that, and just by the nature of Izanami with those auto attacks. Doesn't really have to use much to clear this wave, does it very quickly, and then can just focus all of these abilities on trying to use those to fight.
Layers will clear up an offering. Big Man Tings finally got to go back to base and pick up his own Book of Thought a little bit later than Paul. That's just by the nature of getting a starter item first. And Layers rotating back over towards Variety. Ultimate will get the beads from the B. The Stinger goes through, but not going to do too much. Instead, now it's everybody from the Titans out. Genetics crashes down with Captain Twig. Captain Twig goes in and gets the beads away from SOT. And that for them, at least the Camelot Kings, that will be a win.
Yeah, Captain Twig does use the ultimate, get the beads from SOT, and then he returns some fire. And again, Genetics was the one that launched them into the skies, trying to help out Variety more than anything, but Variety's beads are also down. So once again, it's a timer. Which one will get there first? Will Layers be able to capitalize on those beads being down, or will Captain Twig come back when Assassinate is back up? Netroid might be able to find a 1v1 opportunity here, but given the safety of this Chernobog, I don't imagine we'll see too much fighting. The Assassins right now are spending a lot of time at this right side of the map.
Yeah, it really does feel that right lane is the focus for both of these teams. Captain Twig using his ultimates to keep SOT at bay, Layers using his to keep Variety at bay over there as well. 120 seconds until SOT's beats are going to be back up. Variety a little bit sooner than that. And I imagine similar to last time, now that they both know that those relics are burned away, easy targets for both these assassins.
Yeah, it's just right now you can see Variety is standing very far back. Obviously, SOT has the leap to be able to use to get out of range, and he has wards down as well. So if you ever sees Captain Twig, he can run away. Aurora going to get poked down a little bit here as BMT rotates in.
Aurora, half HP. Captain Twig goes to the stealth, not only of his own, but inside the fog. They'll walk away as Aurora maintains his life. the remainder of the disengage for the Tartarus Titans. They see Captain Twig show up, and they're backing out.
Yeah, we are seeing a lot of little skirmishes here, J-Mac. Usually, it's more so just pick, get out, or farm. This is a little bit of both. Everyone on both teams is trying to find some aggression. Genetics is to the sky, sending people into right lane after Layers finds the gank, but he might be passing up on some wards here. He's still got 68 seconds on the beats in right lane. He has the wraparound. This should be clean.
Yeah, Variety's going to get stunned out, picked up, and SOT will just pepper a couple of autos in, and then Layers will clean up the job with the Brutalize after. Another kill for the Tartarus Titans and the second one for Layers.
Yeah, that's going to be a massive kill. Actually, I didn't realize Layers got the last hit there. I thought the combo from SOT was enough to confirm that kill. So 2 kills now on the board for Fenrir. Golden Blade into what I can only assume is going to be a stone cutting. So more auto attack based Fenrir build. The Camelot Kings, they're going to pull this, and no one but maybe Paul. No, it's gone. There's no way Paul can make it.
No, there's not a chance that Paul gets there. It's not going down as quickly as they thought, though, so maybe there's a chance for Paul to get in and steal this, or Aurora and Cyclone. It's going to be a 50-50 by the Camelot Kings. They'll give up the Gold Fury. The Circle of Protection takes down Captain Twig. The Epic Uppercut sends Netra to the sky, and the Tartarus Titans steal away the Gold Fury. Genex has got to get out fast, and he brings the rest of his team to retreat.
Yeah, that was a good ultimate to disengage there. Right on cue, I think all of the Tartarus Titans realized, wait, it's quiet, too quiet. So they run up, everyone gets there at the same time. I thought maybe Paul goes to lane first, but great sense of mind just recognizing that no one is around. We have to check that, and you have Circle of Protection. Just so much more burst than Big Man Ting is allowed to do. The Camelot Kings were right to drop it and get out. Luckily they didn't lose anyone because that could have easily been a kill and a Gold Fury steal.
With only 1 kill going down, the Camelot Kings will still be upset about losing the Fury for sure, but maybe not as upset or as detrimental as it could have been. Tartarus Titans up 4-2, but a 2,500 gold lead. This is one of the first times the Titans have found this big of a lead early on in the game, and the Camelot Kings, no strangers to being down early.
Yeah, it's going to be how quickly can you get both of these ADCs online in Variety, who is 1-3 and actually building into breastplate. So this is not the style of build you expect to see from these ADCs in the solo lane. It's more so just, I'm going to build regular auto attack, but I think Variety wants to survive against Layers, which is a physical damage dealer, and obviously SOT. Both of these Assassin and Hunters are going to be doing a lot. Aurora going to be getting caught out. Just a little bit of poke here.
Sun knocked up half HP. Aurora will walk out as there's no further follow-up from the Camelot Kings. Captain Twig only has fired a couple of those ultimates out. One earlier to confirm a kill, one to steal the beats from SOT, who finds a big stun up against Variety. Stun in from Layers. The Brutalize stopped instantly right away. The Singer goes through, but it's not going to be enough damage. And now that Cyclone has joined the party, Captain Twig is the one on the run. The stealth will be able to lure some away, but Layers had sniffed it out the entire time through. He'll find the jump in, and Captain Twig goes down to Paul.
Paul's going to be able to clean that one up. Great answer back. The Tartarus Titans are on a roll now. Pyromancer is here. I have to imagine that's got to be the play call. They already got that Gold Fury, and Netroid is nowhere in sight, so they'll be able to pull this one very quickly. Aurora is sort of trying to stop this because Netroid could answer back with a tier 1 tower. That would help out some gold, but there's no way he gets there in time. So a little bit of gold back in favor of the Camelot Kings, but it's still about 3,000 in the favor of the Titans right now.
2,400 XP for the Titans as well. SOT has been having a field day in solo lane. My man's got to have carpal tunnel by the time he's done playing Uller, man. This guy is slamming every button as fast as humanly possible.
Yeah, and he's on that Survivor Uller skin. He's got this every time something goes down, you just start yelling, "I'm coming for you." So you're going to hear everything every time he switches those abilities up. But that's sort of the benefit of this build that he's went for. He has the Transcendence, he has the Jotun, so he's going to have 30% CDR with blue buff. That's full cooldown. With blue buff and Transcendence, he'll never run out of mana as long as he's able to keep going. But Variety not having a great time in this lane. He stopped on that tier 2 breastplate and is now trying to go into Silver Branch or Atalanta's bow, either one. It's just, he doesn't have much damage online, and he doesn't have much survivability. 1-4 right now on that AMC solo. Can't get that second relic just yet.
No. Unfortunately for Captain Twig, he hasn't been able to get as involved as he would probably hope on this Loki. Does have the Jotuns and the Brawlers beat 6 with some anti-heal to deal with the healing that will come from Paul specifically, and any kind of extra sustain from Layers or Cyclone Spin. Captain Twig inside of his own jungle, not safe from the epic uppercut. The bite combo after, quick timing by Captain Twig to get out of there, and that's now 2 ults for just Captain Twigs.
That was a smart play by Layers. I don't think you can time the leap very easily against the Rose Epic Uppercut. You have to sit there and time that CC right on the money. So he says, you know what, it's quicker. I'll go for the Ragnarok. And Captain Twig was instant on that Assassinate out of danger. He doesn't have bead, so if he does get picked up there, he is completely gone. But now Aurora's sort of wrapping around you. Are you looking for variety or Captain Twig? Doesn't matter.
Cyclone Spin wants to join the fight. Variety surrounded by 3 under the safety of his own Tier 1 tower is what he hopes, but there's now a 4th one there, and it's not even necessary. It's just SOT's damage alone to take out the solo laner. The Camelot Kings lose their Tier 1. The Camelot Kings, though, will try and answer back with a Tier 1 of their own, but Genetics doesn't have enough damage, and with Paul here, that one should stop.
Yeah, they will be able to clean this one up. Everyone rotates over to right lane, and once again, Netroid is left on an island. I have to keep highlighting it because that's their one bastion of hope right now. When you look at your team, you have a 1-5 AMC solo. You got a 1-2 Loki jungle. Of course, Big Man Tinks is 0-0, but he doesn't have much going for him at the moment as far as items go. Netroid is your bastion. You have a level 14 Izanami that has some crit coming on. She will be finishing Silverbrand shortly. You got to play through your duo lane right now.
Well, the time for the Camelot Kings is going to have to come soon. Otherwise, the Tartarus Titans could run away with this. 4,500 gold up for the Tartarus Titans early on. 4,000 experience to boot alongside it. The Tartarus Titans have found where their struggle was up against the Kings in the previous early game, and now they've made amends to it, keeping Variety at bay, probably their best shot for now.
Yeah, I would say so. This Primal Fury did spawn in here, and it looks like they will send the left Trebuchet up that left side of the map. The Tartarus Titans are trying to create some space to maybe look for an objective. With the double stacking build that Paul opted to go for again, the Circle of Protection will be some easy confirm, and no one from the Camelot Kings are anywhere close, so this will go the way of the Titans for free.
And this time around with no one close, there's not enough time for somebody to get close, where previously the Kings kind of struggled to drop that Gold Fury fast enough. SOT level 15 on the Ullr jumps in, but has now jumped into 2. Captain Twig is here, but he's level 12 on this Loki, and yeah, it doesn't do a whole lot of damage to Ullr right now.
Yeah, I don't think Captain Twig ever wants to use that ultimate because just with the blink, you have no way of getting away from Ragnarok. If you're getting chased down there, it's going to be some trouble. Genetics, I don't think this is even a good idea. He's going to be able to return so much more damage than your teammates can do right now. I understand the CC, and Layers finds a solo kill on a Variety.
That's not a good look for the Kings now with their soul laner down yet again and 3 grouped up. Make that 4 with Paul rotating over to the Tier 1. Genetics going to be mezzed away by Aurora. Cyclone dives in the backline. Netroid tries to silence him out. Aegis is down, and so is he. SOT on a killing spree with the Ul.
SOT is going absolutely nuts right now. That left Tier 1 tower is gone. He's jumping in consistently. Maybe Captain Twig tries to find a solo kill. Layers, he's down to take this fight too. He doesn't care.
He's down 2 levels. Layers pops the beads, and that's a solo 1v1 kill for Layers to find another one up for the Tartarus Titans. Big Man Team's on the way, but there's not much that this new wall can do. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Layers could turn this one back around.
Layers is gonna jump in here. He does not care. He fought Variety, took him down. Captain Twig rotates in. He takes you down too. Big Man Tinks, I think he's going to run away just to get some farm here, but I don't think he's too afraid to jump in if he needs to. The Tartarus Titans get the Tier 2 tower in left, and nowhere else to go but up. A 7,000 gold lead. There's only been 2 Gold Furies and 1 Pyromancer.
This is just all coming from kills and pressure that SOT and Layers have created for themselves on this right side of the map. Captain Twig and Variety do not get to play this game right now. Something has got to happen for the Camelot Kings. A steal on the Fire Giant, a random pick, something. Because right now, the Tartarus Titans are poised to take this set.
Yeah, BMT definitely hurt them on that FG and backed immediately. He said, I'm not going for the 50-50 into a Circle of Protection with a Polynomicon. So Paul, definitely a reader at the moment, has 2 books being built, maybe Soul Reaver at the end, and he'll get another one on top of that. Everyone on the Tartarus Titans has so much damage built already, except for Aurora, who's just essentially trying to survive and CC, and he's doing a great job at it. Right now, anyone that gets around this Kumakarna gets slept. He can dash in, follow up with the Epic Uppercut. Did SOT just build Emperor's Armor? He did. Yep. There's no way.
Yeah, no, he did. It's literally right there, Chuck. If you look right next to the Hydra's Lament to the left slightly, that's the Emperor's Armor.
All right, you know what? It wasn't that I didn't believe that he built it. I was more so, they are trying to...
In disbelief that he did.
Right, and now I'm going to break it down because it's actually quite smart. Recognizing how good the Camelot Kings late game could be if Netroid gets online, if Captain Twig gets that Bumbus Hammer, if you can make sure that Big Man Ting's ult is chunking people. They're trying to get all of these Phoenixes down and end this game as quickly as possible. Captain Twig is going to answer back. The decoy actually, I think, blocked that axe there.
Yeah, and Captain Twig basically did nothing to SOT. Captain Twig has the ult to get away from his own Tier 1 tower, and nobody on the Kings can even respond to what the Tartarus Titans are doing. They are just running up the mid lane. And this Emperor's Armor from SOT means that tier 2 is going to do nothing to the Titans. With a minion wave still alive, Aurora still in the backline. The Tartarus Titans continue their push forward. Aurora will tank the tower up, but not for much longer. The Phoenix hits just a little bit harder.
This is an 18-minute Phoenix Siege, and that is why once the Blink ult from Aurora does not land, they have to call this one off immediately. Phoenixes are still doing a fair bit of damage, and when your only tank is a level 13 Kumba, I don't think a Phoenix Siege is going to be on the cards right now. SOT can always sell that Emperor's Armor if need be late game. They're trying to snowball. They really do not want the Camelot Kings to catch up. It's a 10,000 gold lead with only one Fire Giant 18 minutes in. If they can widen that gap as much as possible, I think that's their best play because, again, the Camelot Kings have a very decent shot at fighting if they could just get some more items online. But Captain Twig has been essentially useless. Just a CC bot, just juking around in Invis. If he can get Bumba's Hammer online, it's a different ballgame. I understand why the Tartarus Titans are pushing this lead. They haven't been able to break the base yet, but they're running down left lane.
I'm not even sure we can call Captain Twig a CC bot at this point. Most of his ults have been used defensively at this point just to get away from the opposition. We have not gotten to see very much of Variety and Captain Twig on the winning end of anything so far this game. 10-2, read the kills for the Tartarus Titans. A Trebuchet pushing up mid. I mean, the Titans will have an extra bit of push as they start barreling towards these Phoenixes.
Yeah, someone's going to have to stop Cyclone Spin in the mid lane with this Trebuchet, and if need be, he can always ult over to the left side. Waiting for Aurora's Blink ult, probably going to be the option here. Remember, they got Variety's beads last time. Will that be where Aurora looks? The Honey is going to make it so he can't blink.
Aurora eating a lot of damage, though, between the Phoenix and just the DPS coming from the Camelot King. So he'll have to wait till that next minion wave pops in before the Tartarus Titans push into the Phoenix yet again. And instead of going over here towards the left side, it seems the Tartarus Titans are going to make a full rotation towards mid. Variety gets rooted out. The Aegis and the beads are both gone, and so is Variety. Layers picks up the first kill of the fight.
And it looks like they are going to be looking for this mid Phoenix here. Thousands of dollars are on the line, and it's going to be a 5v4. You don't have your solo laner anymore, but you have a lot of damage coming from Netrua. The Trebuchet is the only one who's hitting this Phoenix right now.
The Trebuchet is batting away slowly but surely at the Bird's health bar. Cyclone Spin rotated left and is split pushing all his own with the help of some minions. Meanwhile, 3 of the Titans are starting to take some hefty damage in the mid lane. Cyclone Spin not able to take the Bird. Aurora goes to the back, gets the beads from Big Man Tings, and it's a reinitiation now by Genetics. Circle Protection is dropped down, and Paul will be able to get a big heal for his team off.
But all of these Phoenixes are still standing tall. None of them are looking that healthy. Cyclone Spin's going to find some decent damage in left, but Captain Twig has the body blocks. That's going to be enough. Genetics ults in. None of these birds are down.
The stun is good, but not good enough. Paul picks up Captain Twig off the full rotation from the Tartarus Titans. The left side Phoenix will go down. The Tartarus Titans will back away as Fire Giant has now worn off of all the members.
Well, the Camelot Kings sieged a difficult defense there, but they did not falter. Only one bird goes down, and they didn't lose too much off that. It was a long little siege. Already Fire Giant buff will be, Fire Giant is spawning in 28 seconds. That's how long it took for this Fire Giant siege to go. And now it's time for the Camelot Kings to get the scraps, any bit of farm they can, trying to siege a defense onto this FG. Try to get some vision down, look for a pick, anything. You need to get your carries online. It is 12-2, and your chances of winning this game are dripping away.
Level 18 on Netroid, the highest level on his team, and the one possible person to try and bring this one back in. That is until Twig, Variety, Big Man start getting those items online, because every single person on this Camelot Kings team is behind except for Netroid. Or not for Netroid, for Genetics. He's the one player that they still have up. Netroid doesn't have his beats. He'll dash away as fast as he can. Genetics will make sure that he has that safety.
Yeah, it looks like Aurora was trying to go for the dash into the old combo. Netroid beads a little bit early, but Genetics had some great peel there. Layers already upgraded to that Bumba's Hammer. If you look at SOT, he's got the Bluestone Brooch. Lots of damage coming through for the Tartarus Titans. The Emperor's Armor is still going to be effective here for these 2 last Phoenixes that they'll be able to go for. The question is, will the Camelot Kings try to siege a defense, or will they let these birds go and just try to defend the base? Either way, they've got a steep hill to climb.
4 pushing up the right side, 1 in mid. Captain Twig distracting the Tartarus Titans just a little bit. SOT will go over and make sure to clear those minions out. But with the final tier 2 tower now taken away from the map, it is only Phoenixes left for the Camelot Kings to defend. With fire minions in the left side, Big Man Tings has to take care of those. He'll finally go back to base to try and regroup with the rest of his team as the Titans stare down the right bird.
Yeah, he sent some clay soldiers into the fog to try and slow that down. They want a 5v5 here. They have to try and seek some form of a defense. And it looks like there will just be a Stinger variety. Stingering just for the sake of it. SOT doesn't care about that too much, and will just eat that damage. Aurora blinks in, though.
Aurora into the back line, does find Netroid, gets the Aegis away, and the beads are still down for the Hunter. Netroid will be fine, though. Aurora's the one who's a little worse for wear as he's dropped down to 40% health. And the Phoenix still standing tall on the right side.
Yeah, the stall is pretty good here from the Camelot Kings. They have a lot of time to go if they want to try to wait out this Fire Giant one more time. SOT hasn't done any damage to this Fire Giant, to this Phoenix. He's just looking for picks onto Captain Twig.
This is the Axe Toss. Captain Twig trying to get away from Layers. He gets picked up and not quite put down. Captain Twig does have the ult to find a way out. Layers dies to the Fire Shards, though, and that's a turnaround that the Camelot Kings need to keep themselves in.
That is absolutely massive. The Tartarus Titans have to back off here. That left side Phoenix was the only thing they got last Fire Giant, and it'll be spawning back up shortly. They have about 2 minutes and 20 seconds on this Fire Giant buff. They can try to go for one more push once Layers is back up, but they held that defense. If Captain Twig gets picked there, maybe a different story. They are grasping to life right now, J-Mac. The Camelot Kings do not want to roll over and let this set go.
They need any single thing that they can get, and the fact that they got a kill on the Layers, get a shutdown bonus for Big Man Ting specifically, lets him build up this Obsidian Shard, gets this mid laner that much closer to that level 20 mark. Big Man Tings will stay in this left lane to keep those minions pushed up, but Captain Twig and Variety, both of them still need a little bit of extra defense to stay alive.
If Captain Twig could just get to level 20, Bumba's Hammer, Loki essentially becomes a new character. He does so much more damage, infinitely more survivable. He's always able to use his stealth, and I think it would help him out a lot when he's in that 1v1 up against SOT if they try to split everyone up. But right now, 1 minute and 30 seconds left on the Fire Giant. Layers is at his speed buff, but it looks like the Tartarus Titans are not going to wait. They're going to be trying to look for one more siege onto this left Phoenix.
2 fire waves remain in the left lane. The one that's immediately up there already for the Titans, and one more marching down the backside of the lane. SOT will not join the group just yet. He'll stick around in mid as he has done time and time again. Captain Twig will be the one to play bodyguard with Variety towards this mid lane Phoenix, while the rest of the Titans start their group up left. It's 2v2 for the Titans in mid.
They know Captain Twig's beads are down. One axe from SOT could mean a Ragnarok from Layers, and that could be all it takes. Netroid gets blinked on, and that Phoenix goes down very fast.
Yeah, the Phoenix is gone. Genetic can't get the stun in time, so once again, the Kings have to defend against their mid and right birds. SOT trying to fire as many shots as he can with abilities and basics after, and find some good poke on Variety, but not enough to deter the Kings just yet.
They still want this mid Phoenix, and their Fire Giant has about 30 seconds left. Can the Camelot Kings just stall this one out? Every time BMT gets the chance, he sends those clay soldiers in, trying to deter some of the aggression. Layers, though, might try to wrap around here. He has the Bumba's Hammer. He could get another cooldown if he needs it.
Layers is making the rotation over, but will get spotted out and back away for now. The Titans, yet again, not able to break into this Titan room any further, not able to open up the mid lane or this right Phoenix. For one more time, the Camelot Kings are able to hold their base.
The Camelot Kings have to be getting more and more confident as the game goes on. They're getting more upgrades. The Tartarus Titans, they're not going to be getting much stronger here. SOT was full build during that siege. Of course, Paul's going to get an extra item, and Cyclone Spin most notably will also get an extra item. Besides that, the power spikes are more so on the Camelot King side. Again, I have my eyes peeled on Captain Twig's level. If he gets to level 20 before that Fire Giant spawns in, I think the Camelot Kings are going to get a massive buff. He hasn't been able to do much, but he's very close. 1,000 XP is the difference between Captain Twig being able to really impact this next Fire Giant fight.
And I feel like I'm watching back Kaz Esports versus Soar from years ago, where Kaz was consistently just holding themselves at Phoenixes, holding themselves at Titan, and all they needed was for Soar to make one tiny mistake, one person to step too far forward, and Kaz was able to capitalize, run it down, and win the game. The Camelot Kings are going to need a play like that. They're going to need multiple picks in a fight if they want to try and take down the Titans in this next push.
Yeah, the Camelot Kings are going to let this Fire Giant go for free, it seems like. Captain Twig is trying to get as much farm as possible. He's essentially just scrounging the ground for crumbs, and he does. He does tick over to level 20. He's able to back and get a little bit more gold and finish up that Bumba's Hammer. Now the Tartarus Titans, what can they do differently? They have to spread the map a little bit better. Right now, SOT going mid and the rest of the team going left was able to net one Phoenix. One Phoenix is not the goal here. You do not want to go for Enhanced Fire Giant. You want to clean out this game right now.
Captain Twig doesn't have a lot of gold to go through. Cyclone rotates all the way to the left side of the map because of the split push that Captain Twig had, trying to give his team an opening with these minion waves. But, as I said, Twig didn't have enough money to go back and buy his Bumba's Hammer or Bumba's Spear, whichever he goes for at this point. But for now, getting these players to 20, the most important thing for the Kings.
Yeah, about 500 gold off, so they're going to have to siege that defense without it. There is no minions coming from left for quite some time. The Tartarus Titans are probably going to try to stall this one out. Wait for someone to go defend that left bird, or that left Titan, I should say, the left side. Will be where they're looking at. They're going to go as far away from those minions as possible, going for this right side. Mid side, Trebuchet is also coming down.
Yeah, they've got Cyclone there to help with the Trebuchet. Layers will rotate over. And the Tartarus Titans just seem so split on their decision-making. They seem like they're not fully sure exactly where they want to put all of their eggs. Which basket do you throw them in at this point? They've got two pushing out mid with the Trebuchet. Captain Twig and Variety should have some damage to slow it down. Right side being pushed by Aurora, Paul, and SOT, but not a lot of chip damage going to either of these birds.
Layers blinks in and gets Captain Twig's beads, but it looks like the Trebuchet is going to be the only one damaging that mid-side Phoenix either. There is not much aggression coming from the Tartarus Titans. They can't find a way to get these birds chipped down.
SOT and Aurora, they can't find the CC onto a single person to try and get a relic, to try and get any damage out. Every axe toss from SOT has been missing. Genetics does find a stun, and Aruda is good up against the couple. But the Phoenix is finally chipping away. It's not enough damage to take it down just yet.
It's still about 2 minutes and 14 seconds. The Tartarus Titans' time is on your side. You have poly shots from Paul. Just wait for him to use an ability, get a Polynomicon shot. Aurora blink in and create some space. That right bird's gonna fall.
Finally, the right bird goes down. Some damage from Big Man Tings up against Layers. Netroid low. Netroid's got to use the Aegis. And Aurora loses out on his bubble off the engage from Big Man Tings and Genetics. But finally, the Tartarus Titans are able to break down yet another Phoenix.
But the left one spawned in, so were they really? They're going to have to regroup here and push down this left side. Layers should be getting Ragnarok back shortly. Remember, he got Captain Twig's beads in mid, a few more auto attacks, and he should get the cooldown resets that he needs to find another one. If they can pick up Twig, it's going to be more than the Phoenix going down.
3-2 split, 2 on the weaker, 3 over in the middle. This Phoenix should go down. Cyclone Spin taking up a couple shots, doesn't fall just yet. Gonna need to take out these minions though, otherwise it could go down. Meanwhile, the 3 split in mid will be enough. Try and take it down. Circle of protection dropped by Paul, but Variety makes his way out, has to use both of his relics to do so. And now, Trelly, all 3 Phoenixes of the Kings are gone.
There's nothing else to hide behind the Camelot Kings. They have to form a defense in here and now. They cannot let this Titan get poked down. It will not be healing. The Tartarus Titans are going to sit here, maybe wait for Aurora's blink, and then they have to go for this.
Aurora's got 20 seconds on blink, so if they're waiting for that, it's going to be a bit of time to do so. For now, Captain Twig will keep the minions at bay, out of the throne room. One wave coming in from left, and a fire wave making its way in right. SOT misses the axe toss. Layers jumps in, and immediately walks back out.
They get Netroid's ult, and I think that's going to be the time to regroup here. They don't have to go in just yet, and Aurora, again, does not have that blink. Only 30 seconds left on Fire Giant. That's a full HP Titan. They're pulling it.
Titan has been pulled. The Titans are taking it down to half HP, but it's reset itself. And now the Tartarus Titans have backed away yet again. Titan being leashed around. This time the reset will not give it any more HP. It is slowly going down, but the Titans have got to do more.
Circle of protection is almost up. Once Paul gets that ultimate, they can go for it, but 10 seconds.
Layers is gone in. He's got Genetics. SOT finds the first kill of the fight. Circle of protection down, and so is the Titan. The Tartarus Titans in 4 have won the set. They'll send the Kings packing with a 3-1 win.
The Tartarus Titans going through this whole tournament looking absolutely flawless. Take one stumble in this best of 5, but they look damn good at the end of that set. Once Paul got that ultimate, that was the go button. 3 Phoenixes, and then they were able to go for the Titan. Unfortunate for the Camelot Kings. They played a great set, and now they're going to hang their heads in defeat, but they played a good game.
The Titans just biding their time at the throne room as long as they can, waiting for cooldowns, waiting for relics. And when they get that moment to strike, Layers was the first one in with that Fenrir, picks up one, and SOT puts him down instantly. And that gave the Titans just enough room to walk in and take that one. And the Tartarus Titans are a team that came in during the seeding tournament. They were 4th seed going in, 4th seed coming out, and then into this tournament. And they're the ones who come out on top. And they will be your Spring Masters champions. That's all that we've got here on the cast. We'll take it to the desk to close us out.
Camelot has fallen, and finally the Titans take their place on the throne, 4-1 in what is maybe the most dominant victory from the Titans yet.
Yes, they're up to, that's the third out of the last 4 tournaments that they won, and the one they lost was Worlds, and they were second place anyway. So what a dominant run they've had in the last like 12 months or so. But this being a whole new patch was a whole different challenge for everybody, and yet Titans come up on top once again. They're able to break the meta first, come out with the most like innovative and like, I don't know, spectacular solo picks, really. Like Ula we've seen Amaterasu, we've seen, I mean, I think AMC as well on other teams. So we're just seeing this crazy solo meta that all of a sudden Solo Trolls picked up in his ranked games, was playing these picks anyway, and all of a sudden they're the best and competitive, ends up having a breakout game for himself with the help of layers as well, able to find those ganks all over this game, just abusing Variety on this AMC.
And this is the answer, right? Last game we saw Variety hop on the AMC. He had a pretty good game. The answer from the Titans this time around, don't let Variety play the game. And Layers did exactly that. And here's actually the replay of that double solo kill. First killing Variety, and then I wonder if we'll get to see the solo kill to Twig hereafter. Layers was almost just running the gauntlet at one point in this game, trying to solo everyone. BMT walks over to the solo lane after this.
Yeah, I thought he was going to go for another one.
I thought he was too.
Yeah, a good ult by Captain Twig there to avoid the jump, but it's just not enough. Layers had built himself such a big lead by that point, and still pressuring every stage of this game. When he had that Fire Giant, he had that Boomber's Hammer online, just engaging at every chance he got. He got beads in one engage and a kill on the next engage. He picks up Horus at the end to end the game finally after a long standoff. Like, it took about 12 minutes because they were winning so hard in the early game. We got up out of the green room at about 19 minutes because it felt like Titans could win this game at any point. Finally, they pull it out at around 30 minutes and able to close out this tournament with a very, very strong victory.
And it's been, what a road for the Titans to get to this point. They have lost 3 games total this whole week. One of them, sorry, I guess now 2 of them were against the Kings, that first best of 1 from a couple days ago, and now obviously this last game here. The only other game they lose was against the Warriors in that first day, but since then, basically back-to-back 2-0s against the Leviathans, against the Dragons, even against the Kings earlier on. And if there was any question as to the dominance that the Titans were able to cultivate over the last 5 tournaments, as you said, there is no more argument.
And it's just a constant incremental improvement. Every set they took, and every small loss they took as well, it was always an improvement upon the next. So they developed this incredible meta, and we can ask about them. We can ask themselves about it as well.
We absolutely can. We got some Titans players in the room. Hello, Titans players.
Hey. Hello.
How are you feeling after your victory there?
We're ecstatic. It feels awesome to win.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, it's my first ever tournament win, first ever finals I've ever been in any tournament, and I've been trying since 2015, 7 years now, since the first Worlds to actually like win a tournament, and it feels good to finally actually win one.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point there. SOT, how has your kind of arrival onto this team changed the dynamic?
I mean, well, I'm not sure what the dynamic was before. I think Benji has a different style, more of like the, it was a different meta as well, so it's kind of hard to say, but he was more of like the Cthulhu, like Nike, like, just be unkillable, kind of always like consistent. And I guess I'm sort of like I really enjoy picking like hunters, assassins, mages, stuff like that, that focus more on like doing damage and stuff like that.
He's kind of the jack of all trade. I mean, I guess Ben was kind of like that too, because Ben would play assassins as well, but they're both kind of like similar in that style where they'll play like whatever is good or whatever they think is good.
Yeah.
So.
For sure, yeah. Layers, obviously you had a couple really standoff picks there. I want to ask, were you thinking about going for the triple solo kill onto BMT under that tier 2?
No, I was just, they were like, Nuwas coming, I'm like, nah, I'm chilling, guys. So I just hid from her, and then I stripped the jungle, and that was just kind of my job there, so.
Fair enough. As a final question, guys, do you have any plans between now and the start of next split?
Get lit, bro.
Yeah, just keep...
Time to go out and party tonight, let's go!
Keep grinding, honestly.
Keep grinding.
Oh, Aurora's making a guest appearance. Aurora, anything you want to say?
Yo, Ro.
What's up?
Thank you for telling me I was washed before this tournament.
I told you that? Congratulations.
Holy.
Whoa, we got a whole Titan squadron in here.
Your turn.
Do we want to get the last 2 people in?
Come on.
A group shot.
Come on. Get over here.
Guys.
Oh shit, dude.
Let's go, dude.
The gang.
Congratulations,
Hey.
Titans. Thank you very much for joining us. Leave.
Okay. Bye-bye.
As you can see there, Ro, the Titans just having such a great time. They seem in fantastic spirits after that win.
Yeah, I believe Aurora calling me out for we were having a talk about how the SEC players were coming for his job, and he said I was telling him that he was washed up. So not quite like that, but hey, I'll take it. They're happy guys. Congratulations to them. What a performance, and a breakout performance from Troll or Troll as well. He's had a long career up until this point, and a busy 2 weeks here as well from that team.
Yeah, it's just been phenomenal. We've already talked about the Titans' run up through the rest of the tournament so far.
It was dominant.
It was dominant, and it has just been completely solid. This graph right here, this bracket doesn't show you their performance in their first day of games.
Yeah, and also this came from 16 teams, right? So they've climbed the mountain. Obviously, they were at the top being in the SPL anyway, so they get to skip that first week. But they're able to study these teams over the first week, develop a meta on their own, and honestly break the game before any other team does. They're able to meet in the middle, they understand other teams' metas, and create their own and kind of just devise the perfect strategy to win this meta.
Now, unfortunately, this is going to be it for the SPL for now. Phase 2 will begin on June 10th, so not all that long to wait at this point in time. And if this is any sort of indication of the quality of games that we'll be able to see for the rest of the season, I am very, very excited for Phase 2.
That's right. We've got a couple weeks until then, and then after that, I'm sure we'll have another Masters, and we'll see if these teams can bring back a new meta. We've got a new patch coming up next week, so all the new content coming up.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, from myself, from Ro, from Trelly, from JMac, from everyone in the production, we'd like to say thank you very much for joining us for Smite Masters. Have a great night, and stay safe.
It's my birthday, yeah, 'cause I gotta say, you're looking like a gift for me, wrapped up nice and neat, baby.
And for as good as they have looked, Rival is kind of, they really did Space Jam their powers away from them.
Didn't they?
I'm pretty sure that's what happened here. It's the most logical explanation in my mind.
Rival looking a
You
little
excited
bit
for
weaker at
Space
this
Jam
point.
2, by the way?
You know, I like LeBron a lot, but I think that I don't like Space Jam that much. I loved it as a kid, and the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I don't know how good that was.
Are you serious
Like
right
as
now?
an adult, you know what I mean?
Finch, and this is saying a lot. This might be your worst take.
I mean, as an adult,
Good call, production. Yes, excellent work by production to cut Finch off. Are you kidding me, Finch? It's Space Jam, for God's sakes. I watched that movie literally within the last like 6 months, and it was phenomenal.
I haven't seen it since then, so I might be wrong. I'm just saying that I think I'm hedging my bets that maybe it won't be as good as I remember. I agree, I loved it as
What
a
did
kid.
it say about you as a person, Finch, that instead of saying, yes, I love Space Jam and I haven't seen it as a kid, but I probably hate it now? Like, how is that your thought process? Just be like, yeah, Space Jam rocks like everyone else on the freaking planet.
It
Come
was
on!
great. I loved it. I'm not on the I don't hate Space Jam. This is going to come out like the I hate dogs thing. I hate dogs.
After party, Finch, on that Sunday, November 18th. Get your tickets now for HRX afterparty.eventbrite.com.
You never know when your calendar is going to be important, you know, so make sure you put all your events on it. That way, if it comes up 30 years later, you got it. You never know, really, so. That's one thing I would suggest for you all at home as well. Just write down exactly what's going on.
Something I get a lot, though, every time we go to Worlds is it's always the same comment. I thought you would be taller in person.
She's not.
I'm not. And don't worry, guys. You can get even more bonus Finch voice at the after party
That's right.
from HRX. I guarantee he'll be there. He might be dabbing around the venue a few times, but he'll definitely make sure to make things fun.
That is loudest, funchiest Finch, by the way, is after party Finch. So you're not going to want to miss that. That is something that you absolutely want. Yeah, that feels like the bully beating up on the nerdy kid. He didn't realize new kung fu or something, right? Like, he just turned around and, like, throat kicks him into a locker or something.
I got the power of God and anime on my side.
Oh, no, I wasn't trying to meme, but...
go, though I imagine Medusa is going to be in the dual lane for 2.0. It could also be in the mid. I mean, you could put Medusa in the mid lane and then pick Chernobog here. Yeah, that's an on her.
I'm just trying to make sure I didn't miss-see one of the bands or something at this point. You know?
No, he's not there. He's kind of like, he got like some pink to it. He's kind of like pale.
Well, he can kind of hide in walls, right? So I thought maybe he might be like on the walls of our graphics package or something like that. But no, he's just not.
Get in there and mix it up.
Johnny, Johnny,
Hey Finch, I want to buy some gems. Can you help me with that?
You know what? I'd be more than happy to help you get some gems. We can work through some of our promos on that for you as well. Aggro, you don't need gems. Don't you get paid for gems?
Don't tell me what I need and what I don't.
Whoa,
Are you kidding
stepping to me here right now?
Well, you clearly stepped to me saying you don't need that.
I'm just telling you that you get paid the same amount of gems as I do, and it's a lot of gems if I do say
That's
so.
what you think.
Uh-oh.
You think you make the same amount of gems as me.
Wait. At the same time, well, here, I'll say how many gems I make first, and then you tell me how many.
Sure thing.
Okay, I get 2,000 gems.
Same.
Oh, no! As that first map we're going to be looking at going to be the Playing Ducks up against Freaks T1. I don't know. Look at that logo. I don't think they're here to play. That looks like a serious duck to me. I don't know. He's like to the side, profiled, like glasses going. I like it.
I too like their duck logo, Finch.
You don't like it?
No, I literally just told you that I liked it.
You can't pretend that the face you gave me off camera wasn't like a disinterested.
Not me.
Not gonna have it.
Wow. Mask gonna get his nemesis. Yeah, really. Like, what year is it?
Do you actually not know?
Yeah, 2002.
Well, it might as well be, considering the matchups that we have going on between Snoopy, Met Yankee. Never thought that we'd see Ari win against Paul, though.
Sure, so no harm, no foul, right? It's no big deal. Well, they actually are foul because they're the Ducks and Ducks fouls.
Birds of a feather, I imagine everyone on Playing Ducks as they all flock together towards a pretty nice composition. Now, of the fall splits, you're not going to want to miss a moment. Be right back here for the SPL. And again, thanks everyone for watching. Have a good rest of your day.